Jack, we're live.
So we are live. It has been several months since the last time we did this, so hopefully you are ready for a several-hour live stream where we do our best to answer all of your questions, and a gentleman named Zach Peterson has already jumped the gun. But before we answer his questions and many more, we should talk about
Why are we talking about anything? We should be saying hello to people and making sure that they can hear us first, right?
That is a good call. Can you guys hear us? Oh, and we have a lovely moderator named Chinface who is helping us out. Chinface, can you message me and let me know if you can hear us? How about you, Mark? Can they hear you?
Today's sponsor is Kirkland Organic Fruit and Vegetable Pouches. We're supporting the apple and strawberry spinach sector. There's a lot of farmers out there that are not getting a lot of money for spinach. So if you buy 2 cans today, well, actually at Kirkland or Costco, you can only buy 700 cans. When you eat all that spinach, I'm going to donate 0.0007 cents to Jack's favorite charity, his Corvette fund.
Oh, perfect.
For new tires. He'll get a new set of tires in about 20 years for that thing.
Okay, so it sounds like most of you can hear us loud and clear. Chin, I am waiting. Oh, yes.
I do have a 5th grader lunch, by the way. Somebody said that looks like I'm eating like a 5th grader.
You absolutely do.
My mom made me this beforehand. I got out of the basement today just for about 5 minutes to do this. I had to sweep the chimney first and get her old rugs cleaned.
So I've just spent 12 hours with this asshole driving back and forth from Detroit. And all this guy wanted to do every couple hours with poor Chinface in the car was stop and get scoops. He's like, Jack, I can't believe you made me drive all this way. Can we get scoops? That was, 3 days in a row? It's literally, this man eats
this guy,
like a small child.
Well, I didn't want to go because I had so much stuff to do, and Jack pulled out every stop. Like every time I said no, he's like, oh, but I did this and this. I'm like, yeah, but I can't do this. And then it's like, oh, I did this and this. I'm like, nah, I still got to do this. And then he's like, I made the sun, the moon, and stars revolve around you, and I couldn't say no. And then I wound up going, and then every ounce of energy you stole out of me, I had to replenish it back with a hot fudge sundae, a strawberry shake, and I'm not supposed to eat dairy, so.
I could literally feel the water pressure in my hotel from 4 floors down change.
Yeah, the guy, I woke up at 3 in the morning and I had some stomach problems, and the guy next door, I could hear in the hotel room, he's like, oh my God, what is that smell? Well, anyway, so that's, we're just warming up here. So that's what's been going on with us.
Let's get some other housekeeping done. We have done many projects. We have a Integra Type S docu-film potentially coming out on Monday by some luckiness, maybe. Mark can edit it all together tomorrow. He's been working on it for the last week. We got back from Japan a couple weeks ago, where we finally more or less wrapped up the shooting element of our NSX docu-film. So many of you guys have been waiting on that video, and it will take about 5 years to edit together 5 hours of people speaking Japanese. And mind you, we don't speak Japanese, so it's going to have to get translated out and then subtitled and all that other fun stuff. So that'll be interesting.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to lock the door just in case my mom brings me my dessert.
Perfect. You can't let her do that. And she's going to bring you a bucket as well.
Yeah, she's going to bring me a diaper and a banana split.
What else have we done? We finally did our Z06 GT3 film. We did the 5-way comparison with Carlos Lago, which was, hopefully you guys have seen that video. It's right up your alley. It's got all the hot hatches that are not all 4 cylinders, despite what I say in the intro.
Yeah, this guy said the wrong thing like 3 times or 4 times in the video. He called them all 4 cylinders. And then he actually did call them 5 cylinders. I don't know where that came from. He's just confused.
Yeah,
you know?
I have to add cylinders like I add inches in height.
Well, let me put this banner up here just so people know.
Speaking of testosterone, we are planning on shooting a E-Ray video like we did for the original Z06 film, and our M2 Supra video is out, and we've been working on a Dark Horse docu-film as well. So we have quite a few projects in the background for you guys, and we're about to do our first ever Lamborghini film. We have an STO that's being shipped out to us, and Lamborghini is going to have us do an engineering piece on that video, kind of celebrating the end, or not celebrating, sort of bemoaning the end of the V10, and sort of talking about their future products for the 3 people on planet Earth who can actually afford a Lamborghini. But
How much is that car?
I think it starts in the low 300s, and really the point of it for us is,
Oh, because that's what I'm going to be able to afford.
oh yeah, just you're sitting on a gold mine, sell your organs.
I'll be closer to being negative 300,000 than I'll be able to afford 300,000.
But really, you
yeah.
get to see how a Lamborghini is engineered, and most of the time in the past, no one has talked about the technical attributes of that vehicle. It's just like, look at me and my Instagram models. There are, there's actual engineering and R&D that goes into those cars, and it's sad that no one talks about it. So hopefully we get to talk about a little bit of it.
Yeah, so it's the hardcore viewers that are appreciated. I think that's what it'll come off as. I have my severe doubts that anybody's really going to watch that video, just because I do feel like that space has been dominated by a whole different subset of internet creators who do mostly street racing and whatever. What else do internet creators do with Lamborghinis, Jack?
Crash them, jump them over things. There's that one guy who jumps them all.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I don't know. As we sort of see what we can accomplish while we have good weather, hopefully these will become some unique and interesting projects. Things we finished. What else did we do, Mark?
Let's talk about the big ones, right? I mean, I know you brought it up already. Before we get into this question and answer zone that goes on for quite a while, the Integra video also has some special stuff in it, which I guess it is pretty cool, honestly.
We got to film them get built. We shut down a track. Audubon Country Club continues to be a valuable asset for us, so we put them out on track, and we dynoed it as well. So I'm pretty sure we're the only outlet to track or dyno. And
so yeah, this one's interesting because we did the factory. To your point, the track part, but that's also got some really interesting data in there about what's different about the car, like real data to show like how it's different. The dyno numbers are clearly interesting, and then of course the other part is we did audio testing on it. We did decibel testing on the interior to see like is it actually quieter. So there's a lot of stuff in there, along with trying to talk to Acura about what they were trying to do with the car, for real, like what they were trying to do, and I think they did a great explanation of what it is and what it's not. I'm excited about it because it's what I set out to do when I started this. I wanted to take a new car, have manufacturers help us explain what they're doing so we then can learn about it and then explain it back without being marketing. And that's what I really love. And I love to see the start to finish, the manufacturing, the assembly process. I mean, it's just so cool. And then to be able to have the skill set now to understand what the hell's going on behind the scenes mechanically with the car and to get into all those details. It's so much fun. It's just there's never enough time to do this stuff. That's the biggest problem. You can't just spend endless time on this one thing. But I'm really looking forward to that one, and I know the Japan trip, you mentioned that. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Jack? Because that's kind of a big deal too.
So the NSX project, something we've teased for almost a year at this point. Those who've been following the channel or any of our Instagram accounts, we started this project like 9 months ago. Acura was kind enough to ship us a Gen 1 NSX and a NSX Type S as they were killing off the car. And initially, this is something we'd pitched several times in the past, and after just a lot of going back and forth with them and trying to figure out how to make a project work for both of us, they finally agreed to it. And then we got some of the American side of Honda involved in the NSX project. We had John Ikeda, John Rivers, who did product planning. He's also in an Integra Type S video. Peter Cunningham, the only American to race one in era on a factory-supported team. John Vassos, who is a mechanic who built a shop and basically dedicated his life to these cars. But after interviewing all these people getting the cars, we realized pretty quickly that this is a Japanese story, not an American story. While we appreciate the car and what it has to offer, all these guys who worked on it, none of them were here, right? All we did was resell them in this market and race them.
Yeah.
So after going back and forth with Japan and Honda North America and realizing that some of the people working on this are quite elderly, there's sort of a time imperative as well. You want to be able to tell the story from these people's mouths before they're either too old or physically unable to tell the story. So after going back and forth for 8 months, we finally got all the key team members involved. Uhara-san, the chief engineer, we put him on camera. He answered our questions. Umeda-san, who kind of organized this all from the Japanese PR side of things. Tsukamoto-san, Wada-san, a couple other gentlemen, everyone from the aluminum body works to the chassis engineers who worked on every iteration of the NSX, including the Type Rs, are all on camera for us to interview and tell the story. And we got to go to the Honda Museum, where they gave us free access.
In Motegi, yeah.
In Motegi, yeah. I got to climb around Ayrton Senna's McLaren, which, sure, it has nothing to do with the NSX story, but Ayrton does have something to do with the NSX story. So we've really tried to put something together that, after you and I are no longer doing this in God knows how many years, someone can go back and watch what we're hoping is going to be the definitive NSX video. If you want to learn about what the car is today and from the people who designed it almost 30 years later.
Yeah, it's this was, again, like when we talk about, or we start talking about this, the things that you want to accomplish doing this, and obviously this is quite self-serious right now. I apologize that there's not a lot of comedy in this story, but when we started doing it, I'm like, I want to do an NSX video, because people are like, okay, you've done these other ones, why don't you do this? And it was strange to get to a place where you realize there is no story without the real people that did the work. Because this is what happens all the time. You never really talk to the people that did the physical work and all the hard work on the back end. And I'm like, I didn't want to finish the video unless I had that part. And the naivety of doing it this way, of not really understanding what that meant, was the only reason we got to this point. Because if I would have known what, in all of this, how it would have played out and the amount of time that it's taken, I would have probably never done it. But to be able to have had them be on camera, like you mentioned, and to be able to tell their story. Granted, it's all in Japanese, so there's a huge language barrier and translation issue that's going to have to go into making it work. You have 4 hours of interviews that are all in Japanese. I don't speak Japanese. I can barely speak 3 words because I'm American, and we only know English. But to have that translated back for a video that's cohesive for a viewer to understand, and then getting all the technical stuff that we didn't know existed. That was the best part. Uehara-san wrote a book that he spent 20 years writing about the technical stuff of the S2000 and the NSX that really nobody knew about, even the closest people to him. So we find this out when it's there. It's all in Japanese.
We have him sign the book, and then later we're like, hey, did you write this thing?
Yeah, he had him sign a book, and I had no idea this book was even his. So that's really what we walked into, and some of it's Japanese culture, right? They're not self-congratulatory. They're not people that will.
Unlike you.
Yeah, right. I'm always out in my front yard with my shirt off, like just flexing at everybody that walks by. But that's exactly it. We didn't know what we were walking into, and I don't think that they particularly knew what we were walking into. And it's crazy how it's all turned out. And if I get through this and the video winds up being good, I will be very, very happy. It's one of those things.
You can retire your jersey finally.
Yeah, I can hang up my number 0 jersey for 0 wins up in the rafters, and it'll get bird crap on it. But yeah, I hope this turns out well, and it's one of the things I'll look back on. And if I could accomplish this, I did what I set out to do when I started this. And there's other things to do, clearly, but that was one of the things for me that was super important.
I think really the next step for us is to be a part of the development process for your car earlier on and get to show people in a non-marketing BS way how something is developed, the trials and tribulations from an OEM. Because something that a lot of the engineers tell us all the time is that there's a huge disconnect from people who love cars and people who design cars. And a lot of people who are fanboys of cars or like certain models don't fully appreciate how goddamn long it takes to engineer a product. I mean, we sort of touched on it in our C8 video, and we've touched on it now in our upcoming Mustang video, but it takes years of unbelievable amount of hours to put something together. And it's not only just designing the car, it's going back and forth with, thousands of people on a team, suppliers, the government, manufacturing. Not only do you have to design something, you have to be able to build it. And you have to deal with the unions who build these cars and training, hourly employees to assemble these things. I mean, it is vastly complicated, and I don't think people fully appreciate it. And how would they without doing it themselves, or at least being able to visualize it and see it for themselves?
Well, to be honest, I don't think I appreciated it until this last year, to be honest, getting inside and talking to some of the people that are actually doing the work, and then seeing the difficulties of their job, even, off the record stuff, you hear stories from the people that are leading projects, and just it's their corporate jobs, right? Like, you're one person in a large team, and the bigger the organization, the more red tape. And when you get these bigger vehicles that management and then upper management has to have their fingerprint on everything, and then the budgets, right? Like, the budget part is hilarious to me. When we've seen cars where there was no budget, like the Z06 had almost no budget. Like, they just had a blank check, and that's why the guys were so excited. Like, you saw, and you said, like, look at these.
Not no budget as they had no money. They had unlimited budget.
No, that's what I mean. Like, a blank check so they could do whatever they want. And that's why when you saw the engineers on camera, they're like, they're oozing everything they wanted to do. They finally didn't have somebody breathing down their neck. They got off the leash. And then you see other projects where you're like, well, why is this so? It's
because we had $5.
Yeah, like, we literally had to pull it out of here to put a big screen in the car, and that was the priority, and that took most of the development budget for this part. And it's seeing this on the back end and understanding where the money's going, and seeing, like, production numbers too is another interesting part of the enthusiast cars. Like, I was editing the Integra video today, and I was going through all the Japanese stuff, because there's more, obviously, on a Japanese car. You would think we would have all the information, but we never do. But the Japanese clearly said for FL5 Type R, their goal is to make no more than 400 a month, period. That was their production limit, was 400 a month. And nobody really ever talked about that. But then you see that, and you go to some of these other esoteric cars, or like specialty cars. It's the same thing for GR Corolla. They have a hard cap. They don't even care if they make more than that. It's not about building a lot. So it's funny that we see it on expensive cars that have become so limited or serialized, and now we're seeing it on the budget, like, cars that, in my mind, I'm still not wrapping my head around. Like, how the hell is, like, an Integra, like, a specialty car now, or a Civic, or, like, a Mustang even? It's really strange place to be in the automotive world. And I saw a comment here, does Mark even love cars anymore, like cars anymore? And I'm like, I do. My perspective is just completely shifted on them, though. It's not like how it used to be for me.
Oh, so Jacob and Yuri, the Straight Pipes asked, will I talk about my Corvette? And, of course, 24/7.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Actually, let me put that.
Jacob, can you talk about your Z06, too, and your Fox body?
Here we go.
I need you to do that.
All right, we put the banner up. Go ahead.
All right, well,
Why don't you put your update about your Corvette so we can get it out of the way?
It's never seen rain. I only take it to nursing homes, and I win, and I get to yell at Applebee's waitresses when I pull up my Z06, and I demand that they valet park my car.
Can you fit a lawn chair in that thing?
Yeah, of course, dude. I can either fit my T-top or my lawn chair in the trunk.
What about both?
I can't, I pull a Corvette trailer with my Z06.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just incredible.
So why don't you tell them about the real story about your Z06, because you had some drama with that recently.
Yes. So in a moment of seriousness, the problem with Corvettes, as anyone who owns a GM product knows, is that GM dealers are not always the most capable in servicing said GM product. As you've probably seen from other YouTubers who've owned Z06s or own them, a lot of dealers can't deal with their wheels and tires, so that's exciting. Took almost 2, maybe 3 weeks to get one tire changed after one wheel was destroyed by a dealer who tried changing a tire. So, it's exciting times. So what you are not getting when you pay 6 figures for a Corvette is a 6-figure dealer experience. That said, the service people are nice. They're just not used to necessarily dealing with esoteric sports cars. And I don't entirely blame them. They deal with trucks and Equinoxes all day. If you have some tech who doesn't get paid a lot of money and some asshole shows up with a 6-figure car, is like, fix it, then be like, go fuck yourself.
But we're not talking about fixing it. We're talking about changing a tire.
Yes. Well, fair point.
So they couldn't change your tire, and then they damaged the wheel trying to change the tire, and then they sent you away. Like, we couldn't do it.
In the end, they replaced the tire and the wheel, and another AFA helped mount the tire for them, which was exciting.
Yeah, why don't you talk about AFA real quick?
So if you do live in Illinois, and for the 3 people who live there, because the state's horrible.
I think there's a lot of people
okay,
that
fair
live
point.
here. Yeah.
If you live in the northwest suburbs and you need tires mounted or weird, like what's called performance work done or service work done, AFA Performance in Downers Grove has been our go-to shop. They've helped with a lot of the 5-way or basically any of the comparison tests we've done. They help mount the tires. They do brake pads for us when we don't have time to do it ourselves or we're feeling too lazy. Great shop to work with. It's a huge shout out to them.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those when you have cars and you don't have time to work on them. It's like a load off when you have a place. This is not sponsored, but this is nothing. It's not even really a plug. I just wanted to bring it up since you talked about the tire stuff because they've really gone and bent over backwards because they love cars. It's a shop that actually the guys that do it like cars.
Yeah, they don't open till they work their regular jobs. They're IT guys. Then at 5 p.m. when they get off work, they're like, you know what I want to do with my evening? I want to go work on some junks.
Yeah.
So they open up their shop at like 5 or 6 p.m. and they work till like midnight. They go to work the next day and restart.
It's crazy. But to be fair, it's enthusiast cars mostly, right? They're not like...
Oh, they'll do anything.
Oh, they will do anything?
They'll do anything.
I just feel like I always see like BMWs and GR86s and all that stuff there.
That's what their specialty is, and they're primarily a referral shop. So.
Okay. Oh, cool. Anyway.
What else to talk about? 5-way comparison. Carlos, you got to cross.
Another one off the list.
Yeah, we got to work with Carlos Lago, who's every bit as amazing in person as he is on camera. He's such a nice dude.
Yeah, that was one. I know a lot of people, if you're a little bit older, you know, I'm like, now that I hit 27, I just had my 27th birthday. And, you know, when I was like 4 years old, I used to watch Motor Trend on YouTube, and he was like on there, and I always loved his relatableness. He was never douchey. He was just really matter of fact and not, I don't know, he wasn't abrasive. So I loved his approach. So it was kind of funny after all of this time from him going to Car and Driver. We met him at a press event. I don't know.
GR86.
It was GR86? Okay, we met him there, and it was kind of weird to talk to him, and then you realize like he's just a normal guy that likes cars and works in the car industry. It was just as simple as that. And I don't know how you could. I think you reached out to him for this, didn't you?
Yeah, one of us did. I might have. And he said absolutely. And the real gentleman drove all the way out here, was accommodating to our sort of our workflow. And he genuinely is a nice guy, funny, and very professional. He's like the perfect person to bring in for a project like this.
He's so charismatic. I mean, it's hard on video because, you know, like he didn't do any of the film work and stuff. He just was like the personality on there. But I feel bad that it wasn't as, you know, I don't know. It was a good video to put him in, honestly. He was not just a cameo or like, that was my goal with that, is not just to make him a third wheel or a fifth wheel, to actually have him a part of it. And I know it's weird just throwing him in, but I felt like it worked pretty well for our first time doing it. And that would be my idea. People like, oh, why don't you collaborate? And collaborations are hard because to get somebody that's on the outside in, and namely like Car and Driver, right? That's like a very, very structured old school, even though they're trying to change a lot of that, you still have to bring that brand in and be safe to the brand and accessible while still doing your own thing. And I felt like that was totally accomplished with that video. So I was very happy with it. You could always do more. It could have been better in other ways, but I really enjoyed that one.
If we had more time, I think, you know, maybe incorporating a street element of it. I just felt that using the track allowed us to drive the cars at whatever rate or pace we wanted to. So you could simulate, and we did, what it was like to putt the thing around in no traffic on the track and just sort of enjoy the dynamics of the car and also go flat out. And obviously we brought in Bert Casey, who's been working with us now for a couple of years. Super good guy, racing instructor there, former pro driver, and he set all the laps. And honestly, that was getting him in and out of every one of the cars after he set his 4 or 5 laps and you know, got his flyer, then remounting the camera gear in each one of the cars. It took a lot of time, but the dude never complains and he works really hard and he's as articulate as he can be. He doesn't do this for a living, but he can speak to the nuances of, you know, what a race car driver is looking for in a vehicle like that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video because that was really for you guys as much as it was for.
And on the back end, I just want to cover this briefly for people that are watching. You know, people are like, obviously I'm starting to seriously, my battery is really low with this. I'm questioning a lot of this, and some of it is because to do what you want to do, like what I want to do, that comparison's a perfect example. Jack is like always like shooting much higher. And that's really how a lot of this happens. When you shoot higher and you push the boundaries, you do better stuff. But at the same time, it's like we've hit a wall, or I have personally hit a wall where you're throwing 5 cars at me. You know, 5 cars with 2 people to film this entire thing. It's incredible that it even got done. And Chris, who Chin Face, he does help logistically, and I got to get him more involved with other stuff too. But, you know, essentially two people doing the technical work and me doing all the editing. I sat down and edited it, and I told Jack, I'm like, it took me 5 days, literally 5 days straight, because it's 5 cars plus lap times plus all this other bullshit plus trying to make Carlos look good and, like, you know, make sure he's happy.
Well,
and
he already looks good. Just to make
yeah,
him
you
look
know,
even better.
physically looks good. That's not an issue, but you know that it's not represented bad. But it's so much work. It's not. Does this what we're trying to do is not designed for 2 people. It's not, and we've been forcing this. And then the worst part is there is not the return that there was on this. The costs are really high. The time is really high, and you know, like from the business end, right? Like anybody that's done this, and I'm starting to really realize this. It's hard for Jack because he's like, let's get this thing, let's get it, and he's great at it. And then I have to do the work on the back end. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, I spent 80 hours in a week editing this, and then we probably spent me, you, and Chris, 50 hours shooting it, and then all the planning that was done, probably another 20 hours. So you're literally blowing 3 weeks of time and overhead, and logistics, fuel, all that crap, to shoot a video that comes out one day, disappears, has a couple 100,000 views, and maybe makes a couple thousand. So the return is not there when you look at these things like, oh, it's cool, but why didn't you do this? I'm like, I sit there and think, why did I do this? You know, and there's still somebody's like, do you like cars? And I love cars. I'm just trying to figure out how to survive doing this shit the way that we want to do it, like trying to do more instead of just the cardboard stuff. Because if I'm not doing this, I really don't want to do it. I don't just want to shit stuff out, and it's so difficult now. But I'm really, really proud of some of these projects that are coming up. I think, not saying they're going to be great, but I'm really proud that we were able to do it with the resources, and that the companies honestly thought that we were worth their time to devote resources and energy, and people coming out, like the NSX thing. These guys came out of retirement to come here and do interviews because it could be the last time they're all together on camera. That to me is the pinnacle of this, right? Like, that's the best it gets.
Yeah, well, the OEMs themselves are invested in the projects you're doing, and it's not just some PR person phoning it in because they need to talk about a product. When they actually care, and hopefully some of these projects we're going to do, you get that vibe from the people involved that they give a shit. It makes for a much better experience, at least putting it together. I don't know how it translates to a viewer, and that's some of the pain of this is, you know, when we rewatch the video, primarily we're trying to watch the video to make sure there's no fucking errors.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. The enjoyment part doesn't really exist on our own end. It's like, I don't really watch car videos outside of a couple outlets, more because they're my friends in real life than because I'm hyper interested now. So it's a weird place to be. Speaking of projects, we bought another long-termer. The GR86 was sold, as we sort of alluded to a couple months ago. And then as a new long-termer, a lot of it because what you guys asked us to do, and I think the 5-way comparison sort of cemented it for me, we did the GR Corolla as a new long-termer. We worked with the same dealer in the same town, Toyota St. Charles. They only sell the locals, and they're a no markup dealer, which is great. They just don't get a lot of cars because they're a smaller dealer. Tremendous to work with, and the point of us doing the GR Corolla is, despite it finishing either 4th or 5th in our Camaro,
You and I, 4th or 5th.
4th or 5th in our Comparo test,
I guess Britt too, right?
and Brit, it presents a vehicle that is, it's great on the street, and it's not necessarily great on the track due to cooling issues and some dynamic problems. But it's also one of the more simple cars on the test, so I feel like it's the perfect candidate to see if modifying it with higher end dampers, brakes, cooling solutions, basic alignment pads, tires, and wheels turns it into the car that all the marketing and the bravado from Toyota said it would be. So that's sort of the plan for this video, is unlike the GR86, where there really was nothing wrong with that car.
Yeah.
You just make it faster because you wanted to get more out of it. The GR Corolla does have some genuine deficiencies, so I feel like this is one of those cars where I'm actually genuinely really curious to see if you can, or I can turn it into that car that I wanted it to be. Because when we went to the launch program, we drove it in Utah, and it was like 100 degrees out, so the car was already, sort of heat soaked as soon as you got into it. It was already pulling timing, so it didn't feel fast. And you combine that with a track that didn't really play to its
No, it was like
fun at all.
It was like a Miata. If anybody's ever done iRacing and you take the Miata on like Suzuka or something, like the Cup Car Miata, you're just sitting there falling asleep. and I'm not saying you're falling asleep driving the GR Corolla, but you could literally be foot to the floor on the entire track. There's no oversteer, there's understeer. You can't get it to rotate no matter what you do. And if you really want to try to chuck it into a corner, it just is like, it's so safe feeling that there's something.
No edge.
Yeah, there's no edge to it. And that's not what we went in expecting. So when we did our comparison test, I think there, and you saw this on the forums, people were a little bit upset that the lap time was like at the top, but how is it possible that the car was the worst? And I think it was a combination of factors that even though the lap time was quick, it wasn't particularly that engaging to drive. It didn't feel like there was nothing going on. And we don't need the GR Corolla to be fast. We need it to feel fun to drive, and it just wasn't as fun as the other cars. And then on top of it, the interior is not as good. It's still expensive. And then to have Britt go out for what is essentially 3 laps to come back where it just goes into front-wheel drive mode only, not saying that that can't be fixed, but from the dealership and buying a new car, it's kind of
it's a big disappointment.
It is a big disappointment. So Carlos's point was the GR Corolla is best bought as a street car that you're driving in all seasons. Putting snow tires on it, you can have fun in the winter. It's got a manual parking brake. You can do all the things that you want as an all-wheel drive car. And to me, that's going to be the redemption. When Jack told me he was getting a GR Corolla, I'm like, why? Don't. Why are you doing this? It's like, we don't even really like the car, but at the same time, we've only driven it in conditions where the best parts of it potentially are not coming out. So as Jack drives it and we get it in inclement weather, wet in the winter, especially the winter in the Midwest, this might go from like, okay, it's kind of sedate to it could be one of the most fun street cars for the price. I don't know, we'll find out, but that's the whole point of this.
I guess the only other projects I want to accomplish this summer is I want to do something with some of our other friends out there in the world. Like the straight pipes, either go out to Canada, have them out here, shoot a project with them, do something with Andy the Lab, and of course do something with Everyday Driver and some other, Micah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Micah as well from Kelly Blue Book. I think it's time now that we answer some of these lovely people's questions. And for those who have asked, these are not shrimp, they are lobsters.
Yeah, Jack's got lobsters on his shirt. I don't even want to go there, Jack.
All right. So the very first question we got asked, this was before we even went live, was Zach Patterson. What are your thoughts on the new Lexus GX, specifically in regards to the future reliability of the new powertrain, V6 twin turbo?
Thank you, by the way. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much, Zach.
I am going to pull up the comments here so I can see what the hell, because I don't have my glasses on, because I want to be cool. I don't want to be...
He's asking about the new GX. What do you think? Go to the starred thing.
Oh, yeah. Where's the starred thing?
Above, right there.
Oh, thanks. Perfect. Zach, thank you for the $5. And we had our first experience with the twin turbo V6 was in the LS. The Lexus LS, and we talked to the head mechanic who had been working. I don't even know what they call him. He just does escalations at this point. He'd been a Lexus tech for 20 years, and he's worked on the 5-liter, the kick-ass 5-liter they have, which they never have to work on, the V6s, all that stuff. And he said, yes, the new twin turbo is an absolute pain in the balls to work on compared to the other engines. It's far more complicated by design. It's not going to be like the other engines because it's not the other engines. It's a next generation car, much like many brands that have, turbos and all the other electronics and all the hoses and all the, the plumbing, the cooling and all the crap that goes along into it. And yes, it's probably going to be reliable. And it could be very reliable. It's just when it comes time to actually do the work, it's going to be a bigger pain point than the older cars. And that's what I'll say. I don't think it's going to be that big of a worry. And with Toyota, as they mass produce it more and more, and it's in millions of cars, well, I don't know, it'll be in millions of cars probably. You'll have the part supply where the cost of these parts will come down. And yes, it's going to be more labor to work on it, but the parts aren't going to be like esoteric and expensive. So that should be the saving grace. I think it's going to be just as reliable.
Oh, they still have Toyota's QDR.
Yeah, exactly.
Or quality, durability, and reliability.
That's what they said their focus is. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
The LX, though, if the GX is substantially cheaper than the LX, and it's a little bit more rugged and definitely more that like luxury off-roader. Where I know that's what the LX is trying to accomplish, but in the space the LX exists is so, you know, it's so underperforming and underwhelming compared to all the other big body on frame like luxury SUVs. Someone buying an LX isn't buying an LX to go off-road like they would maybe in the GX. They're buying it because they want a pimp SUV, and if you want a big pimp SUV, you buy an Escalade or some big body on frame monstrosity.
To be fair, the Lexus and Toyota buying public is probably the most unique buyers because they're not buying traditionally for, like, you're not going to see some guy like Greg with his 4Runner, right? Like he wants to get another one. It's like it doesn't make any logical sense. And you say like, oh, why don't you get an X5 or something like that? Like that has zero interest. It could be better in almost every way, but the drivetrain, the reliability, the crap that's tried and true, not crap, but the things that are tried and true about Toyota just have a unique customer base. They don't value the same things. So I think although the GX and the TX and whatever the hell they start naming all these things, I think they're still going to have the good Toyota stuff. They focus on different things than the other luxury brands, and that's what makes them unique.
Yeah, the problem with Toyotas, for better or for worse, is because they are insular in some of their approach. They chase what they want to, and they're often on paper behind.
Yeah.
But their buyers really care. I want to quickly go back to the 5-way comparison because, as Chin has pointed out, a lot of people asked why we didn't include the Focus RS and how it would have done in that test. From a lap time perspective, I don't have a goddamn clue.
I don't know. I mean, it has a huge horsepower advantage, or not a horsepower advantage,
But it has a lot of power.
It makes a lot of power. It's got a torque vectoring rear diff. I think it would probably be right at the top of the list in terms of drivability fun on the track, right?
Yeah.
Like, as we know, we don't like it as a street car it's an old car, right? Interior, the way they tune the suspension.
It rides like complete ass.
It rides like ass because it wasn't designed for they didn't redevelop it for the United States or
It's
the
a
North
German
American
car
market.
designed for a German market.
Yeah, so they didn't redo the calibration they needed to do on the car to make it more friendly for the US, which anyway, it would have been really good on track. Why we didn't include it? Because we didn't have access to one, and it was also a much older car, and we had a relationship with the viewer with the S209, which
Dom, who's very, very kind to have given it to us in the process.
I said to myself, like, we need a Subaru here because everybody's like, why didn't you put the WRX? It's a car you can buy now. That car is not in that same class. It's not. It's been softened up. It's just it competes with the previous
Like
comparison.
the SI.
The SI, yeah, it's more of an SI competitor, more of a GTI competitor, not the track focused cars. So the S209, like, I wanted to put it in there to represent Subaru because I think it's the best car they ever made, and the rest is history. Sorry for the Ford fanatics.
Maybe I'll try to get one during our GR Corolla series to see if it's better or worse.
Well, at least we'll lap it. Why, maybe just throw it on the lap times. Try to find a day that's similar in temperature and maybe get it on the same tires for a leaderboard perspective. I know it doesn't mean much, and I don't care too much about that either. But maybe people would like to see it in terms of like, okay, here's our list of stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know what they're like from a used perspective. It's just not a car. To be entirely honest, I've given a lot of thought to.
I mean, I went back and recently, before we did this Ford thing with the Dark Horse, I went back and rewatched the Focus RS video because I was curious to see how I did it back in the day and like what our approach was. And obviously a lot's changed, but I think in retrospect, like, again, it's experience and time. If I would go back to that car, I would judge it far less harshly than I did during that time period. But in that time period, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there's other cars. Mm-hmm. There's other cars that have more thought given to them. They could do this better, and now we realize like nobody's really done it that much. You could have
bought a Mustang GT for
yeah, exactly. Cars were also cheaper then too. There was a lot more options. We wouldn't be having this debate. So anyway, it's different eras cars.
Next question, Pavel Jones. Thank you for the $10. I got my FL5 in April. Congratulations for getting an FL5, and it's been wonderful. Mark, are you planning to modify yours, like wheels, suspension, etc.? Also, do you know how long you're planning on keeping your FL5? Much love from Australia.
Thanks, Pavel. I appreciate that. Yeah, and thank you for the $10. So when I got the FL5, the short and long of it is I wasn't looking forward to getting the car. I got an allocation for it, and I'm like, okay, I drove it on track during the press event. I'm like, yes, okay. I'm like, this is one time where I'm like, okay, I really like this car. And then when I got it, I was like, okay, I got it in the winter. I didn't drive it, and I'm like, it sat. And then when it came out of storage, like in whatever March or April, I drove it around, and I'm like, I really like this car more than I care to admit. I like looking at it. I like sitting in it. I like driving it as a daily driver. Is it a rear-wheel drive car? No. Is it ever going to be as fun as some of that? No. But it doesn't have to be. I like that it's a real car. So I didn't want to mess with it. And unfortunately, unfortunately, but we wound up having to use it for 2 comparison tests. I didn't want to use my own car for this stuff because every time we use something, like that's why we use press cars, because you don't have the stress of it. You know, I took it out. First thing, you know, I got a stain on the carpet. I got something else. I got a scratch on the steering wheel somehow. I don't know how it happened. It probably was me. I dropped 2 wheels off, like almost 4 wheels. Technically, it was 4 wheels, but dropped 2 wheels off hard when I was trying to set a lap time in it when we were doing the Integra stuff. And, you know, I scratched a wheel, not the end of the world, but this is the stuff. You know, when you start using these cars for this and mounting cameras, I scratched my tint on the passenger window from the magnet mounts. Like, I have like 6 things wrong with this car now just from using it filming. And I'm really, really tired of having my own cars getting messed up for the sake of this.
Outside of our camera cars.
Right, outside of our camera cars, right? Like, it just, I want a car that's not molested.
So are you planning on modifying
Sorry, man.
it?
Yeah, I'm rambling. Yes, but not a lot. I'm going to do wheels and tires, brake pads. I have Essex who sent me their J-hook rotors to replace the original OEM rotors so I don't trash those. And I do want to do a custom Öhlins damper for the car to get rid of the adaptive dampers. But other than that, I really like the car as is. So just basics, like really minor brake modifications. Again, pads is the main thing. I don't even need to do the rotors, wheels, tires, and then the dampers, which I basically do on all the cars. I just don't want to mess with anything. I really think the engine's good as is. The gearbox is good as is. You just have to change oil, you know, fluid a lot for the manual trans like any Honda. Just super enjoyable. Oh, and the pins. Before I do suspension, I'll pull the pins out of the struts to get more negative camber in the front because it would really help the car, even if it's like half a degree. But yeah, that's it. I don't want to get rid of it, but the only reason I'm gonna have to get rid of it is if I start going broke. That's the only way I'm gonna have to sell it, and I'll be really sad to do that.
The next question we have is from Mr. Foof82. It's 1978. Crossovers are 25 years out. Suggest me a 5,000-pound, 8-mile-per-gallon coupe for personal luxury I deserve, even if it's a personal luxury coupe in name only. Props if the engine output is under 30 horsepower per liter.
Lincoln Mark IV.
Oh, dude, I was going to give him the 6,000 SUX.
Oh, you want the science fiction car? Well, that would work too if we lived in that. Yeah, but the 6,000 SUX wasn't in 1978.
Oh yeah, fair point. RoboCop was in the 80s.
That was like what, 85? So you're 10 years. Okay, so if you're in 1985, 6,000 SUX. If you're in 1978 Lincoln Mark IV, that checks all the boxes.
Your mom had one, right?
Yeah, she had one, a yellow one with yellow interior. It got 4 miles to the gallon. I think it made. I think
4?
4. Yeah, and I think it made.
Holy shit!
What the hell? Do you know what the engine size of that thing was?
I think it was 4. Was it the XM Valdez underneath the hood of your
This
mom?
is really, really funny, actually. Let me look this up.
Holy
you can go
shit.
because
4 miles per gallon. I got a laptop here. I'm going to go look it up.
No, she got 4 miles per gallon. She had to have her. Okay, guess the engine size of this thing.
7 liters?
7.5 liter.
How much horsepower?
No, that's the best part. Ready? I gotta find the horsepower. I don't wanna underrate it.
Holy shit!
Come on, baby. Sorry, I should know my horsepower.
Is that why you don't-
7.5 liter
Yeah.
V8, 2 valves per cylinder, rated at 365 horsepower.
Oh, it made that much power?
No, that can't be right. The 460 carryover from Mark IV for 19 rated underwent a numeric decrease to 212 horsepower.
There we go.
So
like
that's-
212.
Let's just say, even if it made 250 at 7.5 liters, it hits the box for low displacement or high displacement versus power, and then 4 miles per gallon. Just, keep that carb clean, man, if you want better power. Carbs.
All right, Mr. Foof82, go buy yourself a Lincoln Mark IV. What color was your mom's?
My grandma had a champagne color one, a rose with rose interior. My mom had a yellow on yellow.
Oh my God.
Those things.
Is that why you don't like V8s now, Mark?
Let me tell you one story about that car.
All right.
My dad, this is like a classic story. This is like the best thing that ever happened to my family. My grandpa had a stroke,
So you're not starting up.
No, that wasn't the best. That's not the best part. He had a stroke. He lived a fast life, and he constantly fought with my grandmother. So he had a stroke. He just couldn't handle her anymore. So she left him after he was debilitated.
Oh, the story's going really well.
So he got put in a nursing home, unfortunately for him. And I remember going to visit him, and he recovered, but he could never really walk again. He had a walker, unfortunately.
Where does this story get amazing?
Well, the story with the car comes in. It's pretty cool. So he regained some of his ability to walk, but he was screwed up from it. Thank God he's cognitive function. He could think and everything well. It didn't do any damage up top. But yeah, my mom would pick him up to do some family stuff, and he would get in the front seat, and it took forever. But that wheelchair and a walker could fit inside this Mark IV. I mean, you could fit like 3 wheelchairs in this thing. He sat in the front seat, and because he couldn't swallow properly, he always had these nasty loogies. Like, he would constantly be coughing up like a handful of snot. And me and my dad are in the back seat, and he has one of his coughing fits on the highway. He rolls down his window. We didn't have air conditioning in the car. He rolls down the front window, and he's coughing, and he coughs this huge loogie out. And my dad was sitting by the back window, and the loogie flies out. And my dad's like desperately trying, or it wasn't a crank, he was desperately trying to roll up the window. This snot globule hits the window just as it's closing, and it's covered the whole side of the window. And my dad's like, and I remember my dad's face because I was so young. I'm like, just to see his sheer panic, that was the closest thing he ever came to the fear since he was probably in Vietnam. So that was really the only memory I had of the Lincoln. I was sitting in the back for that masterpiece.
That's fucking incredible.
So
All right.
Anyway, that went long, but
all right. Next, Mr. Foof82. Thank you again for the.
You got your money's worth.
And you won trivia. He gave you $5 extra for guessing that car.
Oh wow.
Well, thank you, sir. You're a good man. Hopefully,
Is that the one he was really talking about?
Yeah. Bonus is promised, Mark.
Wow. I would never get that
28
right.
per liter. I expect it from someone in the heart of Molass country. Thanks, Mark and Jack. Well, Mr. Foof82, you're more than welcome. Mark, thank you for getting that trivia right. Wow. Jordan Reeder, thank you for the $5 donation. Mobster, thanks for the $2 donation. Thoughts on a gently used condom business?
Jordan, thanks for the $5. And Mobster, I would not play with that field at all unless you're getting the condoms from trusted sources. I would call me after this. Okay.
Paul Anyway, Paul, thank you for the $10. What are your thoughts comparing the GR Supra manual to the current Cayman GTS and the new Lotus Emira? Supra seems like a bargain at $40K or less.
It wouldn't surprise me.
You get a Supra for less than $40,000?
No, it's.
Oh no, $40,000 less than the other cars.
Oh yeah. I would be really surprised if the Supra wasn't faster than the Emira around a track. I think it would be.
I bet you the Supra is probably faster than the Cayman GTS too.
You think so? Pretty close.
I bet you
it's really close.
Alarmingly close. I mean, the Supra makes so much power.
Oh, okay, here we go. Let's
because you want to know why it makes so much power, Mark. It's because the B-58.
Yeah, I was like, this dude set you up for that.
The Emira is a beautiful car. I just watched Everyday Driver's 3-way comparison between the Cayman GTS, the C8 Corvette, a wonderful, wonderful car built in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and naturally, of course, the Emira. The Emira is probably the most beautiful car you can buy for under $100,000. Our PR rep, and I saw this question earlier, are we ever going to do an Emira? Maybe. We were supposed to do Emira a year and a half ago. It got delayed 3 separate times. We asked the factory for footage. They sent us something shot on an iPhone. Maybe one day we'll do an Emira video, but so far the Lotus experience dealing with the company is like I imagine how it's like to own an actual Lotus and get it serviced. It is an interesting experience.
There's 2 different Lotus mentalities. There's the people that live in the home market where that car is and thinks it's the best thing ever, probably because there's dealerships to support it. And then there's Lotus fanatics in the US that will make every excuse for those cars because there's nothing else like it. And that's really fair. You know, when I had the Exige, it was a special car until I actually had to have it fixed. And that's what did it for me. They just didn't care. They didn't, to me, that's not a good. That I don't want a car where I can't get support on it, and you're going to need support on it. And it's next, even though it's not really a next generation car, it's a next generation car for Lotus, and it's really their only car. They don't have a lot of dealerships.
You're having $500,000 car problems, like
$300,000
$300,000 car problems, like Ferrari, Lamborghini problems, or really more McLaren problems in a $100,000 car.
Yeah.
If you can deal with that, the Amira is amazing. Nothing else like it. Otherwise, Supra versus Cayman. The Cayman GTS 4-liter, I met someone who went to an Autobahn driving school and bought one. Engine's amazing. Gearbox is great. It looks good. It's going to hold its value. Is it $40,000 better than a Supra? Would you? You don't like the Supra, so that's probably the wrong person to ask. Would you buy a Supra?
I like the Supra.
Would you buy a Cayman? Both with a manual.
I would buy, in my current position, I'd buy a Supra because I think that what you're getting in the GTS 4-liter, even though it's great, is a lot of money. It's really a lot of money for what that is. I mean, it's a great car, though. It's hard. It just depends on what... If you have disposable income and you can afford a GTS 4-liter, you're going to buy that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
A question a gentleman has asked a couple times that is a non-paid question. And I'm sorry, it's trying to go through like super chat and regular questions, and I'm trying to make sure I hit as many people as possible. Gentleman asked something about, is an M2 or a Supra a good first fast car? If you've never been in a performance car before, would you buy a Supra or a M2? Do you think that's too much car to first, your first performance car, jumping right into an M2?
Yes. It's too much car.
If you're going to track it and enjoy it, it's probably too much car. If you're just going to drive on the street, it's fine.
An M2 is a fast car.
Oh, it's really fast.
It depends how old you are and what your driving experience is, but if you don't have a lot of driving experience, I would not recommend it. Personally, I think that car is... You're asking for trouble if you don't have any driving aptitude to do it. And yes, there's a ton of electronics. That's not to say that that's not going to save you, but you're not going to get a lot out of it if you don't know how to drive that car.
So if you buy either of those cars, go do a driving school immediately.
Yes. Don't. I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm just saying if you buy that car, you better tune up your own driving ability to really do what you need to do with it. And you're just going to be more safe too.
And you'll get to actually enjoy your car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next question. Any word on the E92 M3 after owning it? Asan Khan, thank you for the $2.
I go up and back on that car, and I think it's a great car. Personally, if you really are passionate about it and you love it, just buy one and keep it because it's gonna be probably, like everything else, a collectible. The retrospect for me is I would never buy one again, only because it's the right engine in the wrong car. That's it. That's the best way to sum it up. It just feels like such a special engine in a car that is just so cardboard. I know it's got great dynamics and all that stuff, but really what that car should have been is 500 pounds lighter. It should have been far more focused. It should have been edgy, and it just feels like a boat. I don't know how to put it. There's something wrong with two different teams oh, we got to put this V8 in here that we have. It's going to be amazing, and the engine is amazing, but the car is so. It's just... I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
It was a hero car of mine in high school. So my dream car in high school was a 997 GT3 4-liter. Not surprising to you. I grew up watching Porsches race. But the other cars, my dream attainable car, one day I'll have an engineering job and I'll be able to buy an E92 M3. I drove a bunch of them in college as my friends owned used ones. And it was the first car, and yours, which I watched all of your problems I'm never buying one. And then I've driven modified them, Matt from Obsessed Garage, I've driven one of AFA's cars, and for how much money they are now, particularly used, fuck no, get something else. And that's...
Yeah, and that's the thing, price is a big factor. When I got mine at the top of the market. It was way expensive, and that was $40,000 or something like that. That was expensive. Because I got a 2013, but now they've gone up by another $15,000, I think, right?
Yeah, a really, really clean, low mileage one can be $60,000 or $70,000.
Yeah, that's
just not worth it.
No. If you could have got it in the $30,000 range, and you're going to do rod bearings and all the other crap that you need to do, and then suspension work and all that other things and brakes, of course, you still need to do brakes. It's you're getting an eco car that you have to do
get an F80, get a new M3, get an E46. I think that's a more special experience. You go on an old BMW pile, you get a GT350 with the world's longest warranty and roll the dice. I mean, Corvette. I mean, there's a lot of cars for that kind of money.
The engine is really special, though.
Yeah.
You're buying that car for that.
I don't disagree. Brosnan Paris, thank you for the $2. Why is there a limit on Patreon? It doesn't make sense. Well, we're bad at managing Patreon, and I promise, hand on my heart, that Chinface and I, Chris and I, will finally activate the Discord after saying this for 3 years for Patreon, and I will rechange the tiers once again so more people can join. Patreon's amazing. We couldn't at all do some of our big projects without it. Genuinely, Patreon's why we can be like, oh, I'm going to spend $4,000 to shoot a video. That's the only way we can do it is through Patreon. Otherwise, he and I would be living in a shoebox.
That's true. And honestly, I've said this before, but this is like these past 3 months is the first time where like when I cash out Patreon to go, like it's critically important to this operating.
Because we've done so many big projects.
Yeah, it's literally has to be there, and without that support, this is done. That's how bad it is. And not bad, but you know what I mean? That's how important it is to us right now. So yes, Jack will update it, and Patreon is actually redoing their layout and stuff to help with that, so you can see what things are easier. So I think it's actually a good time to do it. And like I get all these emails from Patreon all the time, like we're making this better, we're making it easier for you. Do you want to hop on a call? Do you want to do this shit? And it's like, I'm gonna be up till 2 a.m. tonight editing. The last thing I want to do is hop on there. It's just a matter of time. We need it, but we also need to spend more time with that part.
And I'm not the world's greatest businessman, but I'm trying my best to maintain the business side of things as well as. Typically, if you do deal with someone on Patreon, it's not Mark, it's me.
Yeah.
And I do my best to distinguish
I am on
us.
there. I am.
Yes.
I do look at every single thing that comes on there. It's hard. It's just hard. Like you got to pick and choose what you're actually doing. And for me, it's how do I keep the content and how do I keep things going?
Wild Frames. Let's start with hello. Hello, Wild Frames. Thank you for the $5 BGN. Best car reviews in the world. Thanks, Wild Frames.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Wild Frames, and thank you, Bros in Paris and Asha Khan and everybody else. Thank you.
Ginger Hermit. Thank you for the $25 for one of those peanut butter jelly wedges. They're almond butter because Mark is weak.
I'm not going to get into why it's almond butter. I don't have a peanut allergy, Jack, if that's what you're getting at. But it's not health reasons, really. It's just a preference.
And he's wrong. Peanut butter is better. Michael Turning, thank you for the $2 donation. Who Scoops for $10?
Oh, I like this name.
Selling my 997.2 C2 6-speed and my 981 GTS 6-speed. Sadly, just totaled by hail. Any suggestions for replacement? Trying for $60,000 and below. Former M2 BRZ owner, eyeing an M2 GR86 right now for daily / autocross and one track day a year. And the daily part makes that harder. So if you had $60,000, Mark, what would you buy? It's hard, man. The problem is you're coming from a 997.2 C2 6-speed, like a really great Porsche, and a 981 GTS 6-speed, also a really great Porsche. Getting into an M2 and coming from a Porsche, you're going to be like, oh man, I just downgraded heavily.
Oh, you're going to need to drive both it's M2 CS or M2 competition?
M2 comp.
Oh, M2 comp. I would take the GR86. I know that's so weird, but it's going to be it's going to be the slower car, but it's going to have the same good feeling of the Porsche in some ways and the Porsches.
Yeah, I hate to say it too. I mean, if you want a real driver's car, the GR86 is probably, it's going to feel like a shit box compared to those two Porsches you're getting out of, and the engine's going to feel like a garbage can because it kind of is a garbage engine. But yeah, and if you want a driver connection,
it's the best car for other than like a Miata. That's like, but you're gonna have to do tires and stuff. Like you have to literally do tires and
GT350 with a really long warranty. When it blows up, don't message me.
Drive them both. Drive them to competition, the GR86, and you're gonna know right away. Like you're gonna know what talks to you more, and I'm sure that the power is gonna talk to you.
C7 Grand Sport. That's another car. If you were just dealing a Cayman, the C7s are. I think I sold mine in 2019, which is like the most desirable year in color for like 62 grand. So you're right there. That car is amazing. Like I many ways still prefer the C7 over the Z06, the current one. The manual is not the best, but it's a manual. You feel like you get some of the old car feel out of it because it's really, just an iteration of the C5.
You're not going to talk a Porsche owner that's looking at a German car and a GRD6 into a Chevy.
But it wasn't built in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Where was it built?
No, those cars weren't. This car, the C7,
I see.
was built by America's finest craftsmen.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about the SS1LE when he was saying that because that would have been another option.
Yeah, it's a badass. ZL1 is a badass car too. That car is hilarious.
Yeah, but you're talking about it's probably not in his, it wouldn't be in my radar either.
Fair point. Hopefully that helps. Who scoops? Will Matt, thank you for the $5. My grandma test drove a Stelvio Quadrifoglio and loved it, but has been going back and forth between the Giulia and a Stelvio. What's your opinion? Your grandmother sounds like a badass, by the way.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. Like, do you want an SUV or a sedan?
No, grandma wants a Quadrifoglio.
That's what I'm saying, but a Stelvio or a Giulia are two totally different cars. Like, if you don't need the space, like if you don't need the SUV, the Giulia is way better. That's one of the coolest sedans in the world, like by a long stretch. Like, I know you never drove it.
No, I did.
Oh, you did?
I drove it at Road America and I lost brakes.
Oh, that's right. Okay. As a street car, I would take the Giulia. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, the Giulia is super cool, and it sounds great.
Yeah,
too.
you roll down the windows and you just hear that thing rip.
Michael Turning, thank you for the $1 super sticker once again. Oh, and he's asking how old I am. I am 735. No, I'm 28.
Where did you see this question?
It's down here. Michael Turning. He just answered, he managed to ask a question at the same time. So
Oh, I see.
I have like multiple versions of our stream coming up, including regular questions.
Don't ever say that to me again.
I'm horrible.
Negative.
Alphabach Brackley, you are a gentleman, sir. Longtime patron of ours for 223. If the NSX video succeeds, a Prelude video next year. I would love to do a Prelude video.
I know you would. I'd like to do the Prelude before the last one. Not the last, I don't even know what gen it was. Not the SH all-wheel drive with, what the hell did they call it? No, not an all-wheel drive, SH.
Super handling?
Yeah, but what the hell did they call it? It was something else. Anyway, not that one, the previous one, where it had the electroillumination dash across the whole center. That's the premium one.
Scott at King Motorsports continues to offer us his K cars. We are going to do a K car video.
Yeah, and those are badass. That's going to be a hilarious video.
Alex T for $5. Any updates on the Mazda 3? I bought one. I'm very pleased. 1.5 thousand miles later. Want to keep hearing your experiences. Thanks, gents. Wow, I just had a stroke. Like your grandma. Your grandpa.
Yeah, you're going to spit on me now?
So the Mazda 3 long-termer is mine. Mark has the MDX. We're both getting to the end of our tenure with these cars. I'm shooting that sort of wrap-up video in next week. I've put 14,000 miles, and as a sort of disclaimer, my girlfriend put most of the miles on that car because she's in medical school. She did her rotations in it, and I've driven it a lot. We've serviced it. I think this will be probably the most comprehensive look I can do in 6 months. We put as many miles on this thing as possible. We put a year's worth of miles in 6 months. I talked to dealer techs, figure out what breaks on them, and it's not a bomb-proof car. There are problems with it. Hopefully you like it in the end. It's a great car, though. I think it's a car that the more time I spend in it, initially I was sort of down on it, but now it's a car that I get into. Like, I drove it here. I drove an hour to get here, and I'm like, I don't think about it. It's a great, like, pseudo-luxury car that looks good. It's comfortable enough, nimble enough, and it's not like a car that I'm like, man, I don't want to be in this thing.
Yeah, I think of it as we've done this comparison, I thought of it more as like a good GTI competitor. It's like the layout compared to the Golf is so much more intuitive, and it just feels so easy and effortless to use that car on the inside. And if you don't need the space part, like if you don't need a big back seat and a huge hatch space like some of the newer cars, it's a special car in its segment. It just, again, there's trade-offs. Mazda needs, they don't have unlimited money. Otherwise, it would be even better. But it's a really good car for what they set out to do.
Actually, you want to know how old I am, Mark? I'm B58.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how old I am. That's an amazing comment in the regular comments.
Just that's how you, if I had time, I would have AI'd you this whole thing.
AJ for 220 Canadian. Genesis G80 V8 or Genesis G80 V8. So 2013 or 2015 G80?
The Genesis wasn't, the 2013 wasn't a Genesis, was it? It wasn't a G80 in 2013.
Whatever the V8 Genesis was in 2013. The first one, didn't that motor have a ton of problems?
It was an Equus, wasn't it?
I don't remember. No, it was a Genesis. You could do the regular Genesis sedan, which was a Hyundai, had a V8 in 2013. I knew a friend of mine in.
I know. I didn't think it wasn't they didn't switch over to the G80 moniker until like.
Oh, my phone's off. Let me look.
Anyway, if you're gonna, I don't know when they cut it off because they made revisions to that engine, and I don't remember when they made the revisions. Sorry, we got to get on here.
It's 100. It was just called a Genesis in 2013.
But yeah, it wasn't a GAD. Yeah, the first one.
Versus the later, like the 2015 V8. What would you get?
They made improvements from the previous gen to the new one, and then they made updates again. So the engine got changed 3 times, and then the trans got changed like probably 4 times.
So this is the body style for the 2015.
Personally, I would just say 2015 because I think it's a far superior car. It's on a way better platform. It's like the platform is like night and day better. So just go with the 2015 and just be ready just in case. Have a warranty on that engine. It's a great car, though. I love it.
Andy and Abby the Lab. It's a pleasure seeing you guys, both Joe and Deb. Paying for Jack and Mark to hold hands the rest of the stream. I will grab Mark's hand right now. The way I met Mark was at a singles pottery class. That's really how I did it.
When do we have to stop holding hands?
Oh, we have to hold hands for the rest of the stream. Sadly, your T levels are too high for me, and I have to use my other hand. So I'm going to take it back. Andy and Abby the Lab. I'm sorry, I can't.
These dogs.
Yeah, all they want to do is touching.
All these dogs want to do is cuddle and leave their hair everywhere. How could you have 2 animals like that you spend 90% of your life cleaning up hair?
Is that why you got rid of your hair?
Yeah. Yeah, my T levels went up. I started shedding, and now I don't have to deal with it again. Now, those 2 woofers, Andy and... Which was the one that mauled me?
I think it was...
It was Abby.
Abby,
Yeah, I was sitting on the couch, and Abby came up to me because she was not trained properly, and she clawed my leg right through my jeans. And I have a scar on my leg from that animal. Now I can't be a model for the Kirkland catalog.
Colin Niekritz for $7. Well, thank you, Colin, for your $7 donation.
Thank you, Colin. And thank you,
If
Doug.
you had a question involved.
Joe.
Yeah, Jack would hold hands. I would hold hands with you the whole stream if you were the B58. I would just stroke you the whole time.
I should have had a B58 model here.
Rick Kuehl. Wait, what is this mark? No Arby's beef and cheddars? Blasphemy, if you ask me.
Yeah, I thought about ordering it. Because I needed food because I haven't eaten, and the peanut butter and jelly sandwich wound up coming in. Because I can't, Jack, I can't afford the beef and cheddar sandwich. I went broke. All my gift cards ran out.
Rick, thank you for the $10 donation. Noodles Extra MSG. It's an amazing name. Thank you for the $2. When is the AI Jack uprising?
The last AI Jack was out of control in the last video, which was probably one of the most physically exhausting videos I ever made. The Ram 2500.
The Ram video that 3 people watched.
Yeah, check out the Jack AI in that video if you want to see the future of where he's going. And I'll just leave it at that.
Andy and Abby again for $20.
What's with these animals? What do they want from me?
Thank you, Joe and Deb. When is the Carlos Ghosn interview going to go live? Well, I too have to get smuggled into Palestine.
No, he's Beirut. Isn't he in Beirut?
Oh yeah, he's in whatever.
Is it Beirut? I don't know. I can't remember all this useless knowledge.
Anyway, you know who I will figure out a way for us to get sponsored for like $10 million, and we will do a documentary on the Murano Cross Cabriolet, and we will fly to whatever country he lives in.
We won't survive that.
Do you think his wife's going to kill us?
No, we will get executed if we do that. It's not worth it for a Nissan. I don't want to do it.
Tim, for $2. Why don't you guys review the Ford Taurus show? I'm going to be honest.
Which one?
The 2010 one, the one that people think, not the Conan O'Brien one, but the 2010 one.
The Yamaha one or the new one with the EcoBoost?
The one with EcoBoost.
You know what? Funny enough, Scott had a guy that came in who was a viewer, and he reached out like 6 or 7 different times. And this is when I was like really getting started with this stuff, and it never happened. So yeah, I don't know that it's gonna happen. I'd be curious to do the old one more personally for me, just because of I think it would be funny.
And I could pretend to be RoboCop.
It just they wouldn't survive your driving.
Oh no. The
You'd
dude,
rip the shifter right out of the column. It would just rip off in your hand.
the dude 365, continuing the tradition of donating to Mark's washboard abs.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Deb and Joe, and thank you, Noodles Extra, MSG, Rick. And now we're dealing with
The dude 365. Are you gonna get washboard abs?
Sorry, I was looking at his avatar. Am I gonna get washboard abs? I already have washboard abs.
Yeah, that's why you lost your hair, all your teeth.
You can't see my 6-pack, or I'm sorry, 8-pack under all this hair that I'm wearing on my chest. That's on purpose because really, I'm having trouble with all our female fans lately recognizing me. I'll go places and they're like, they call the cops because they think I'm a serial killer. Like, there's this creepy guy walking around the ice cream shop again.
The Cloudy View for $10. Thank you, Cloudy. Got to add them sponsors. We are working on it. We are going to try to get an actual, outside of Dell, we're probably trying to get an automotive-based sponsor this year. Thank you, though. We are doing our best to make sure this channel still continues to make financial sense.
I'm gonna need a sponsor for all my
Scoops.
yeah. For all
I
my
would love a Ben
addiction
and
is-
Jerry sponsorship. That would be my dream.
No, it had to be a real ice cream place. That's like corporate now. I wouldn't want to do corporate. I'd want to do some like
So my old man is a ice cream connoisseur, like a genuine ice cream connoisseur, and he will tell you about the different ways they're made and what places he should go to or what places you should go to. Apparently, his favorite place in this area is Graders, which is surprising.
Oh,
to me.
yeah, yeah,
He
that's
loves
right.
the one Graders location in like Northbrook.
I'll have to head over there.
Yeah. All right. Oleg, thank you for the $20.
Thank you.
Graham Daughtry, thank you for the $10. I have an Elantra and manual and love it. I have an opportunity to buy a new RS3 at MSRP. Should I do it? I can afford it. Will primarily be my daily. If you can afford the new RS3 is a badass car as a daily, not as a track car, but as a daily.
Oh, I'm behind here. Thanks, Andrew, for the 10. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking in here. And then, of course, Oleg, thanks for the $20. And that your avatar has a really kick-ass motorcycle jacket that I would look good in. Sorry. And Graham, let's do it. Sorry. What's the
RS3. Should he buy an RS3? He can afford it at
Yes.
MSRP. Would you say it's a substantial enough upgrade over an Elantra N?
yes?
I agree. The RS3, the engine, I don't care about anything else, but the engine's great.
You get it. This is one car I haven't told you about that I thought about getting.
The RS3.
Yes.
Because
And-
the engine?
I really love that car. For whatever reason, it's like the same reason I like the Type R because it's a normal car with an amazing engine in it, and you can do everything with it. It's a little, you could argue it's a little small and very expensive for what it is, but it is a special car. If you can afford it, get it in dickhead green, lime green, and then tear it up, come peel down my neighborhood and drive through the grass, and then flip me off like an Audi driver, and I'll salute you, sir.
On the track, it's a bit numb. I will say you will feel like you've lost some feel.
Who cares?
Yeah, you have the engine. The five cylinder is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, just put some sticky tires on there, figure out how to get more cambers, and you're not driving it on the track. You're driving it on the street at 200 miles an hour.
Sukia for $20. Thank you for the $20. And Graham, hopefully that answers your question. When are we getting a Lotus Emir review?
No, no.
If so, when? Thanks for the
Never.
amazing content. One day, I've already talked about this in this live stream once, like a year ago. We approached Lotus, they said yes, then they said no, and then they tried getting us the car in 3 separate times, and now they only have 2 in the entire United States on the West Coast.
I'm not going to California to do a video on that car. I'm not going out of my way
normally
to do
I'd
a
be
video
like,
on
Mark,
that
I'm
car.
going to drag you in my luggage to go, and now I just don't care.
Yeah.
I think it's getting burned 3 separate times by Lotus trying to put this together means I just don't care as much.
That's the thing. Like, I don't want to do it unless they want to do it, and they don't want to do it. So I'm not going to waste my time. I got dibs on the new Rogue update. And
The other part of it too is I think the thing that burned us is we had friends who worked at a Lotus dealer here, and hearing what they were like to deal with from a corporate perspective. You're like Gibran, good dude, loves cars, will put up with a lot of shit. But he's in a position because he owns multiple cars, despite buying a car at $100,000. He has deeper pockets than that. That for him, if it goes down, it's not a big deal. If you're a regular person who's put together his ducats to buy a Lotus Emira as that final, like, this is the car I always wanted. You're buying a $100,000 car that you're not going to be able to get parts for. Your dealer experience is going to be a joke if you even have a dealer locally. It's going to be a huge pain in the ass. Like, it's sad because I love the way the car looks. Everyone I've met who's driven it says it's an Avora. It means it drives great. It's just it's hard to be like, yeah, buy it, unless you have a high tolerance for BS.
Yeah, that would be like my fourth car or fifth car, I think, if I had to have one, and I wouldn't care if it broke because I would never drive it.
MK3504, thank you for the $20. I've learned a tremendous amount from this channel. Love ya. Well, and that was the point of this, right? Is to teach people things about cars.
And, Suka, thank you for the 20 and the Lotus Emira review. And when this does happen, by the way, to be serious, if we do reconnect with them and they're willing to give us resources other than just being like, fly on your own dime to California and do a great video for us so we can market this car. If it's not that, I will do it because I really do. I love the Avora. I'm sure I'm going to love the Emira for what it is. And in terms of MK3504, he's obviously learned a lot because I'm on this channel. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh my God.
It's because of me.
All right,
knows everything.
Let's just speed rattling through this because we have 10 billion questions and I promised that I wouldn't be here till the end of time. Jonathan Aboot for $11 Canadian. Time to treat myself with a toy. Option 1, Audi R8 with gated manual. Would like your opinion, V8 versus V10 in terms of value proposition experience. Option 2, Lotus Emira. Would you look at that? Another Lotus Emira question.
Audi V10, R8 V10. Done deal. Easy.
That car is fucking amazing.
The engine, whatever deficiencies that car has with interior and all the other stuff, that engine is a special experience, and as soon as you wind it out on a road and you're cruising around, you're not going to care about anything else. That 3.5 liter Toyota engine, no matter how they make the exhaust sound, is not going to match it, nor is a V8, although the V8 is also very good.
And the V8 and the V10 both go click-clack when you shift because it's a gated shifter. I think the R8 with the manual is cooler than the Lotus Emira.
By far. I mean, maybe it doesn't
look as cool, but
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they're both really good-looking cars, but yeah, the V10 is going to hold its value. Anybody that has money is going to want a V10.
Yeah, like, if you got a coupe with a manual as a V10, you could put miles on it and it'd probably still hold its value. It's just going to be a maintenance bitch.
For sure.
Andrew Ellis.
Thank you again for that.
Thank you for the $5. Would you care to share how you capture such high-quality audio? It's AI'd. All our audio is AI.
It's all fake.
Yeah, it's all...
Yeah,
we're faked.
Yeah,
we're not even
real
here.
People. Yeah, we've been auto-generated by the auto industry and the computing industry. Right now, we're on a high compute cluster running at 20 teraflops a second.
The way we capture audio is through a lot of effort. This asshole's like, I need to capture audio. He's out there with a microphone for like 4 hours. Like, Jack, more. Yeah. I need more.
Like see, Jack has the idea in his head of what he wants to do, but because I have to edit it, I know what it takes. Well, mostly what it takes to try to get stuff done. And when you actually have to do the work of recording it, I see when Jack's in the car going back and forth, I just see the life sucking out of him. Like, Jack, I need you to do it again. He drives by like so angry, just like, I don't want to do it again. So it's a combination of. So here's the trick. I'm going to tell you this. You need to have microphones that are high or low sensitive, have a lower sensitivity that don't blow out. If you have a microphone that's too sensitive, it's going to clip whenever you do anything. So you need to make sure that, and they always need to be at the lowest setting possible. Once you have all of that, you need to make sure that you have good stereo separation on them. So it's not just monorail's fine, but if you have a monaural mic, then you need stereo mics, something to left and right and cut it together. And then really a lot of it, once you have the recording, a lot of it is just editing. You have to be creative enough of like, how do I splice it together? And you'll see this Integra video coming up. I can't play it for you right now, but when you see the Integra video, look at the beginning sequence. And you'll see if you stripped away and just listen to the audio, it's just a lot of clever editing of like, okay, I have all these sound clips and I'm gonna puzzle piece them in. How do I get them to sweep over? How do I get them to rear channel? Because it's YouTube's 2-channel. Like, how do I get them to sweep to the back channels if you have surround sound, like to give that effect of spatialness? And I also started cheating and using a spatial mic as well, which really helps that experience. But anyway, think in your head of what you want to see and what you want to hear and how you would put the sound in. And it doesn't have to be one-to-one. It can be like creative, and that's how it works. I'm not saying I'm the best person at doing it, but a lot of it is just how do I make something that's not the greatest into something way better, and that's how I approach it.
Merrick D for $50. Merrick, thank you very much for the $50. Love you guys. My favorite sub on YouTube. When will you review the new Lexus TX?
I don't know. That just got announced, didn't it?
Yeah, typically, I mean, we try to be on every one of the Lexus press launches. We'll definitely go to that one. If you have any, huge questions about it, find Mark or I on Instagram and hit us up, and we will do our best to make sure we address those questions on our review. And again, Merrick, thank you very much for the $50.
It's not Merrick.
It's not Merrick?
It's Marek.
Excuse me.
Why don't you use it properly? You don't have your Slav genes cooking over there. It's Mark. His name's Mark. If you wanted to ruin it for him,
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. No, thanks, man. I appreciate it. As soon as we get it, usually we're probably not going to. I'm not going to go to the launch for it. But personally, for me, I'm really interested in it because the Grand Highlander is kind of like, it's cool, but I'd like to have the Lexus part of it. So I think it's going to be great, especially when they actually get real. What your big complaint was, what can you do with standard dampers on the Grand Highlander? You're stuck with non-adaptive dampers, and that's something the Lexus is going to fix, is ride quality.
Hopefully it doesn't wallow and bob.
I mean, even it does, it'll have a comfort mode, but 10 to 1, it's going to ride a lot better than the Grand Highlander, so I'm kind of excited for that.
Michael Turning, thank you for the $5. Dale McLeod, when will you review the CX-90? We have this will be the longest CX-90 video that anyone puts out. We have like 4 hours of interviews. I just finished shooting B-roll on a second CX-90 because the first one we got sent was a pre-pro and there was something wrong with it. So, I mean, we've already reviewed it. We've shot the video. Now it's just up to us editing it. Our goal is to have it out sometime this month.
So the story was Jack went to the launch. He got all the interviews. That's what he focused his time on. And there's a lot. And then we're like, we need the car separately so we could do it. So we got the car and it wasn't right. There was something wrong with it, and we know there's
And it's a pre-pro car.
Yes.
So it's not accurate to the car.
We told them, like, we're not going to do a video on this car because we don't want to hurt the car if that was just a one-off. So we waited to get a second one, which unfortunately took like, what, a month and a half now? Yeah. So we're like, now we're way behind because we had to wait for another one. And Jack says there's some of the same stuff, but it's better overall, right?
Yeah, it's not the other car was massively messed up.
Okay, all right. So that's the story behind it.
You'll see the video soon enough. Our London for $20. As I'm trying to accelerate through these questions, because we have so many of them. How's the engine in your X7 holding up? Any reliability issues? Our London, thank you for the $20. I'm considering trading my Ghibli for an M550i, which I believe has the same engine.
Don't worry about it. As long as you get the M550i from the last update, because there was the V8 that didn't. It's like technical update 2, and they went to technical update 3, which was started in 2020, I think. It might have been in the 5 Series before that. I've had 0 problems with the engine, 0 problems with the transmission.
And we beat the piss out of that.
Yeah, it's got 42,000 miles on it. So yes, it's going to be expensive to repair. I will warn you that. But so far, this last updated V8 before they went to the hybrid one, because they just went to the hybrid one, the M60, whatever, it's been solid. And most people, I haven't seen any complaints about it at all. So I would say if you're worried about a Ghibli versus there's 0 issue.
Connor McMahon for $5. What do you think about the 2013 Boss 302 Mustang? Would you consider doing a review of one as the most track-capable live axle Mustang? I love the Boss 302.
I know you always talk about it.
I love that car. I also love the 2013-2014 GT500 with 665 horsepower that does not drive properly. Those cars are not the best cars in the world, but they ooze charm. If we ever had one where the owner was all right with me making my kind of video, then yes, I would love to do a Boss 302 or really any performance version of a 13 or 12 Mustang.
Yeah, you got an affinity towards these American cars, man. Like these muscle cars like that. I drove the Boss 302, and I'd agree it's a cool car. I'm sure I'd be just curious because I drove it when it was an era.
Yeah.
So I don't know how well it's gonna age because now all the new Tangs are like they're so fast.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is it still gonna be fun? Is it gonna be good?
If I don't know what Kobe did the prices for a while. They're like 30 grand. For 30 grand, that's a lot of.
Yeah.
The GT500 I think would be hilarious because it's a bad car.
Yeah.
I think from the comedy perspective, it would be funny. Christopher Keach. I'm glad he enjoyed the Loogie story, Mark.
Oh yes, thank you, sir. I put my heart into that story.
Crone151 for $20. Longtime Patreon subscriber. I've been using your car reviews lately since I have 2 friends in the market for automobiles. Thanks for all the hard work. Hopefully they find value in these videos, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Osa, for being a Patreon subscriber. That's deeply helpful.
Yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Darian Mayers for $20. I bought a 991 Carrera T CX-5 and now a CX-50 because of you guys. Referring to the Carrera T specifically, on paper, the 992 doesn't seem like that much of an upgrade. So I'm curious to know what Mark likes so much about the 992 versus the 991. I'm a Porsche guy, so I'm not probably the best person to ask. Why do you like the new interior or new car versus the old car?
Well, a lot of it is interior exterior styling. I know that's not a really great explanation because you can speak to the mechanical part of what's different better than I can because I don't remember. The literally, I think
said Porsche. My code activated my chip.
I mean, how much different is it mechanically?
I mean, honestly, because it's not the double wishbone car like the GT3, the 992.
He's not talking about
T.
Yeah,
it's probably 10-15% better to drive, maybe from a mechanical perspective. Objectively, the one place it's worse is actually the gearbox. I think the bushings, because they took the mechanism out of the GT3 from the 991 Carrera T, but all they did for the 992 is shorten the gear knob. The gearbox isn't as good, but mechanically, again, latest generation dampers. It's the iterative learning process of just making a car for a long period of time. It's like when we drove the 3.8 GT3 and the 4-liter GT3, both being 991s. Could you say it was 50 grand better? No, but was it a lot better? Yes, because the damper technology got better, the iterative design, the steering tuning, the engine was better. It's like subtle changes to make it a better product are there. I don't know if.
So to be honest, it's not worth the extra
No,
money.
God no. I mean,
if you were trying to decide between both of them at the same time, then yeah, the 992 is better. But the 992 is mostly better because, to your point, it's an iterative, a little bit better mechanically, just overall. But the styling for me is objective, and the interior is mostly objective. The interior is better. The layout is much better on the 992. It's more cohesive. It feels like a more special space, less generic. But that's not worth dumping that car for a new one over that.
Yeah, if you were cross-shopping it for like some really high horsepower variant 911, sure. But I don't think the 992 is worth the delta over a 991 Carrera T.
The only time the 992 is a big upgrade is in the GT3 because of the suspension. It's a much different
GT3
car.
RS.
Right. Yeah, you're talking about, but you have to go way high up. And so to answer your question, you don't get rid of your car. It's going to be the same thing for you.
Chef Randy Marsh for $10. Glad to see my 2 favorite Takumis back on the live stream horse.
Yeah, I've been.
I forgot how long these were too.
Yeah, I know. My deodorant's failing again.
What Danger to Manifold? Wasn't that the?
Yeah, the Fast and the Furious movie. By the way, you guys should definitely check out that new Fast and the Furious movie.
You can have a stroke while you're watching it.
I do go in with a bottle of Excedrin ready, no Tylenol.
Bruce View. If you started your own car brand, what would it be called? What would your first model be?
Yeah, it'd be some alphanumeric shit. Be like AZBD 4 or 5.
What would your first model be?
AZBD 4
No,
or
what
5,
kind of
6.
car would it be?
Oh.
I like that question.
SUV, CUV, for sure.
It would be all touch screens, because as we just found out from a designer, people like touch everything.
Yeah, we don't even need to do our research.
It would use the Unreal Engine for everything. Everything would have the Unreal Engine.
Yeah,
in it.
well, at least the marketing part of it.
No, everything.
You don't need the Unreal. You can just say it has it. You know what I mean? Like just say it's got the Unreal.
It would have
Engine.
swipe to steer, because that's the next.
It would definitely have a screen on the steering wheel with a yoke.
It would have the biggest grill possible.
Yeah.
It would be.
The grill would be a screen. That way you can change the grills.
Oh yeah, you're
You know,
right.
you could change the grills digitally. I don't have to be stuck with one grill. I mean, you don't need a physical grill anymore, Jack.
And it would be like 10,000 pounds.
Well, it's a start. You know, you could get the weight package too. That's the thing. Like you could add, well, in your case, you could add the Bullion Club package where it just adds gold bars in the back. Anyway, that's...
And it would definitely have exterior speakers. Someone brought that up. That would definitely have exterior.
There's exterior speakers for sure. So
You know-
people could hear you talking your business calls. You could
just
have
hear
a
me
giant
yelling.
speakerphone
Yeah.
outside.
Money! Oh, there you
You see?
Yeah.
You're already integrated.
Speaking of amazing cars, you know the car that we saw in Japan that I still dream about?
Oh, here we go.
the Alphard.
The Alfred.
The Alfred. The Alfred van is tremendous. And if you own one, I'm jealous. All right.
Send it to the U.S. I will dominate the world with that.
Rain Howard, sorry. Thank you for the $20.
Thank you, sir.
AJ for $220. How is the X7?
Great.
We answered that question.
No, I honestly, I like it. I just don't like how much it costs. That's my only complaint is it's a lot to run. It's expensive in terms of fuel. Consumables are fucking insane. Did we talk about the tires, Jack?
Yeah, the
They
tire-
cost as much as your Z06 Corvette tires.
And they last like 15,000 miles
Yeah.
on an X7, which
Yeah.
is like horrifying.
In the insurance, my insurance went up to $2,500 every 6 months.
His
with State
insurance on
Farm.
his X7 is more than on his Z06.
I have to get rid of this thing. Just purely based on that. I gotta actually call other insurance companies because it went from
You gonna go to the General with Shaq?
yeah, I'm gonna have to go to Shaq. I'm just gonna drop the insurance off of it and tow an
Nissan
Altima behind me.
man.
Yeah. I'm gonna tow an Altima behind me.
Or
Just
no, tow it with the Ultima.
I should. Yeah, that car is going away. I just can't afford to keep it.
Raphael for $10. In September, my car will be 3 years old. I was planning to replace it with a Lexus IS 500, but I'm loving the Integra Type S. What would you pick? We can't talk about how the Integra Type S drives yet, but
Oh, man,
picture,
yeah, that's a tough call.
do you want a V8 or do you want a manual gearbox? Which, do you want a driver's car or do you want a V8 boat? That's what you got to decide.
Man, I can't. They're totally two different cars. They're not even the same.
You want driver's boat you want driver's car, manual, nimble, focused in the driving part, but also a good daily, or do you want V8
The
boat?
Type S is not a luxury car. So if you're expecting it to be like an IS 500 in terms of like that luxury car thing, that's not what it is. So yeah, get them both. Keep them both. I think you'd love them both. I mean, if you can afford to have them both, do it.
Do you want a manual? Do you want a V8?
Yes, that's the big thing. If you want a manual car, then of course the Integra is going to be way better.
Forgetful Foot for $5. Forgetful Foot, good to see you again. Love the 987 review. Looking forward to the 987.2. We'll probably do that in fall. Also picked up my first S2000, one owner, for $24,000 US dollars. Bargain. Congratulations, Forgetful Foot. Hopefully you love your S2000.
Yeah, that should be a fun car for you to experience.
Ginger Hermit. He is Team Almond Butter, Mark.
Thank you
For the almond butter, way more expensive than the plebeian peanut butter. Peasants, I know. I should know as I'm coming from a fancy gentleman. I should have known coming from a fancy gentleman such as yourself.
Yeah, the almond butter is from Trader Joe's though, and I get the one that's extra salt, or I guess it's salted.
Extra salt.
I think it doesn't say extra salty, but it tastes extra salty. I like it because it actually has flavor.
Is
That's
that why
what
you have Morton's cans throughout your?
Yeah, I just pour. I don't even buy salt. I buy the water softener salt and put it in my food now. The pellets.
God, that's like just a horrifying picture. Morgan S for $50. Morgan, thank you very much. Which is a better buy, a new manual Camaro SS convertible, or a Porsche Boxster? SS starts at 47, Boxster starts at 70. Seems like the Camaro on paper is a lot more car for the money. Interested in your thoughts. Man, I don't think the Camaro is a great. I know you want a convertible.
Boxster.
I would take the Boxster. I hate to be that guy. If you want a Camaro SS, I mean, it depends if you really want a manual. If you can afford a Boxster and you
Oh,
walk.
they're not even this. They're not even like comparable cars.
The Boxster's really 70 by the time you're done. It's like 80.
And the Boxer's so nimble and like light and like quick feeling, and the Camaro is gonna be like a boat with a convertible. It's just gonna be like V8 muscle. I don't see them being the same. I mean, if cost is not an issue, you buy the Porsche. 10 out of 10
You
times.
save money and get a C8.
Yeah, but that looks look at
It
this.
looks horrible. I agree. Like the narrow body car does not look good. You get a C7 convertible with a manual.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, if you're already looking at a Camaro SS convertible, why don't you just get you can get a C7 coupe, pull off the target top, and you have a convertible experience with a V8. It's a better car and a manual.
He's probably not in the lawn chairs like you are.
Oh, yeah. My weakness.
You have a weakness for lawn chairs. I know, man. That's a hard one. I wish I knew more. I would definitely choose the Porsche.
It's not a better value, but it's a better car.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, though. Morgan, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Or if you're female or male or
Thank you as a human being.
Human being, right? Sorry, I don't want to cause any static with people.
We already answered that one.
Hey, how old is Jack?
I'm B58 years old.
This guy, he just turned 40.
Rev Nation for $2. How do you grow? Where the hell
Ain't no way Jack is a Zoomer. Jack is not a Zoomer. That I can tell you.
Did I just lose that question? Where did that question go?
Oh, I probably...
How do you...
Crap.
Fuck.
Sorry, man. That was my fault.
The question was, how do you grow a channel if you're new?
That was the question?
Yes. That's all I remember about the question.
How do you grow a channel if you're new? That is hard. It's not like it used to be. Everybody's going to tell you, oh, you just got to be unique. Yeah.
Persistence. Honestly, I don't know. We're just sort of like...
It depends on what you're doing, right? Like, it depends on what you're doing. It's such a broad question. How much... if it's car-related, it's going to take a lot of work. A lot of work. You're going to have to start with your own cars. You're going to have to start with borrowed cars or something. You're going to have a unique angle that nobody else has. Or you're stuck doing the TikTok, Instagram Reels thing where you're trying to churn out something in a minute, and then it's got to be different again, like eye-catching, funny, or from the YouTube perspective, you're going to have to devote a lot of time and a lot of heartache to try to get out as many videos as possible. Probably 4 videos a week. I don't know what you do, but this would be a sidebar conversation. If you want more info, just hit us up on email through the website. I know the website hasn't been updated in 16 years. Or hit us up on Patreon, and I'll try to give you a more detailed answer.
James Adler, and that is a tremendous photo, James Adler. Corvette Z06 or an Arby's franchise. Thank you for the $20. But I did buy an Elantra partially based upon your experiences. Pairs well with the town and country. That's amazing. Amy Boehm, thank you for the $20, Amy. Keep being savage geese. Love you guys. Your F80 video is still a fave despite its shortcomings. The car, I love mine. The F80 is a car that I've grown to appreciate even more and more.
Well, when you see the new BMWs, like you didn't know what you were missing. I said this to Jack. He's like, "Oh, I'd love a new M4." I'm like, "Just get an F80." He's like, "Oh, it's so much money." Like, you're lucky if you have one. Honestly, it's probably like in terms of like the E92. Everybody gets nuts over the E92. That's like this generation E92. It's all the modern stuff and good looks and yeah, you're lucky. Thanks.
Future collabs on the horizon. Something with Micah we're trying to do. I'd love to do something with Everyday Driver. Nacho Libre, also thank you for the $5.
Yeah, thank you for the 5.
Everyday Driver.
Yeah, so it was,
Throttle House.
We got Throttle House, Straight Pipes, and Micah and Andy, the lab. And these are nothings planned, but that's what we're going to be doing. I don't know time frame. I can't even give you that one right now.
Lane, this is a man who lives the life that I want to live.
Thank you, Lane.
Thank you for the $50. After 6 years of living vicariously through your review, I purchased my dream car, a 2019 GT350R. Thank you for keeping the dream alive through school, saving, and delivering the best car content on YouTube. Congratulations on your purchase, Lane. It's such a badass car.
We just talked about this car for like the past 3 days. Jack would just randomly have outbursts. Man, I would love a GT350. Just like randomly he would say it. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
Because we were working on the Mustang project.
Yeah, that's true. I triggered all that. I mean, It's probably one of the most memorable cars I've ever driven in recent, like, modern history in the past 7 years.
We worked with a Ford performance engineer. We worked with everyone who worked on the car, but I did the shop segment with the Ford or Ford engineer who worked on the Mustang Dark Horse, and he pulled me aside and went, "The best driving car we've ever built is a GT350R. That car is so special. It blows up. You might blow up your car lane, and if you do, I'm sorry, but at least you have a badass car in the meantime. Just make sure you have some engines stockpiled."
Yeah, that's what I told the engineer. I'm like, you got to buy that car and 2 crate engines to go along with it, like brake pads. But yeah, I mean, it's still an amazing experience.
And
sure.
they know internally that it blows up. They're like, "Yep, that car has got some problems. You just roll the dice."
Well, in 5 years when they don't have to warranty them anymore,
Then
don't
they'll
care.
tell everyone,
They're
yeah.
like, oh man, we made some mistakes on that one.
Remedial. Man, my brain. Do you have any opinions or thoughts on the new Mazda hybrid rotary with the syngas ethanol being the savior of ICE over the next 10 years?
Honestly, I know they've been working on synthetic fuels, but I really have not followed the details of it. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like every week something pops up about some savior of synthetic fuels or solid state batteries or urine from a donkey that comes from space. I don't know. Like, I would love to see it, because if that happened, we would have some really cool cars again, for sure. Sorry, I don't have a better answer.
Yeah, I feel bad. It's just something I haven't given a lot of thought. Chris Walks Fast, thank you for the $2. Can you talk more about the STI engine failure? Was the owner mad? Dom is actually somewhere in the comments. He's the guy with the S209 nameplate. He told me today, and I forgot to tell Mark this. First off, Dom is the nicest guy in the world. I'm not just saying this because we blew up his car. He worked with us on the original STI S209 video. Super good dude. He wanted the car to be there, as Mark is beat to death at this point. And the reason it failed is...
Did he get back to you?
Yeah, rod bearing on the 4th cylinder was what failed. And prior to that, the only issue he's had, and this guy is like hyper diligent, the whole car was PPF'd. He's never tracked the car. He's done all of his maintenance at dealerships. Prior to the car losing its engine like the last 1,000 miles, and Dom will probably be more accurate, at least in the comments, is that it lost its catalyst, which probably means it was running rich. And then, this was the slight...
Or eating through oil.
Yeah, one or the other. Well, no, he never had any burning oil problems.
Oh, he didn't?
Nope. Probably like this... I mean, Britt only ran 3 laps, and we're not talking about...
Yeah, and it's not on super sticky tires. It wouldn't have been a G-load issue. So it was already worn through the bearings.
It was just
spun.
needed, the small shove it needed. Subaru problems. They did warranty the car. Do I think they would have warrantied it if we towed it to the track?
Yes, they would. Well, no. Well, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but we did it the right way. I think we did it the right way. It was handled professionally. He did the right thing with the dealership, and we talked about this beforehand, or I had you talk to him about it, like make sure the car has had its maintenance done, there's no modifications, any of that.
He did a service before we did the video
he did everything you're supposed to do with a car like that to make sure that you get any type of warranty work done properly without any fight. And there should have been 0 fight with it, and even on our side, our Subaru reps agreed, and they made sure that they handheld the back end to make sure that the engine was coming from Japan, that the process of it, even the dealership was handling the process well. And he really is the type of person that you would love. That's the person you'd love as somebody that buys your cars. He doesn't just care about the STIs. He wants a regular Subaru. He'll own multiple new Subarus. Like, he really loves the brand. And you could say what you want about Subaru. They have their following, and the way that they handled this is
perfect,
exactly the reason it's going to keep him around as a customer. It's a good lesson for brands to build equity with people by doing the right thing. If, in his case, he did the right thing with this car. I'm not talking about somebody that went out and had, E85 and a tune and running, different boost pressures and all this stuff. No, this car was stock and was treated well and done all the maintenance. So he deserved to get the treatment he did.
Flat 6 Fiesta for $5. ADM going anywhere. RS3s are going for $70,000. IS 500s are going to $70,000. M2 competitions are $60,000. Car prices are through the roof. Do you see this as the new normal? Till we all go broke and and there's a huge financial crisis for the foreseeable future, maybe.
Yeah, I would say it's going to stay this way until the credit thing blows up. You know, if you have banks that stop lending or interest rates start to get really, really out of hand and they cut off lending, kind of like they did that. I know we brought this up before, but they did some cutoffs during COVID. Banks stopped loaning over $50,000 for cars just as a security measure, big banks. So if they start capping car loans and people are like, the only way to get car loans is like 10% interest or something, you'll see that bomb drop. But until that, I
Or
think
there's crazy inventory again.
right, crazy. I don't see the inventory going up on specialty cars. We've already talked to all these brands that are making the fun cars, and they're making them in limited quantities. And they've done that on purpose to protect themselves by making sure that they have a supply chain for the next like 2 or 3 years for limited quantities.
They don't make money off the cars being marked up. They are so conservative in product planning. They don't want to build more cars and have them sit and not get sold. They rather build less cars and guaranteed they get sold. So when, I hate to bring up the Z06 again, but they make 50 a day. They make approximately between 44 to 50 a day. They make 150 C8s, regular C8s every single day. They're building a lot of cars, but also there's only so many buyers out there, and they've planned out the building of these cars years in advance. That's how you get a supply chain.
Right.
Type R is the same way. You said
400 a month. That's it, maximum. So that's, I didn't do the math. I think that's under 5,000 units a year. That's it. That's all they're doing. And they have no ability to expand the capacity out because they've already set up the supply chain for that number for that specific year. Now, granted, whenever their renewal is, they can up it or down it. But really, for the foreseeable future, a lot of this stuff is locked in.
Okay, that's a depressing statement to say, but it's the truth. Tentra oh wow, we have a lot of questions. Holy shit. Tentra 002. I'm debating between a Golf GTI SC base model and a Golf R. Is the R worth the extra $10,000 premium, mainly as a spirited daily driver, no track? I'm in the Northeast, so 5 to 10 snow days a year. I would take a Golf R over a base GTI any day of the week, particularly if you see snow.
Yes, it's a better car. There's no question about it. And in any way, the Golf R is a better car. Yeah, it's a lot more money, but it's a better car, and you're going to have a much better driving experience. There's no way you would drive those back to back and be like, yeah, I'm going to go for the GTI.
Point of View Garage. Patreon here. Thank you for being a Patreon. Thank you for the $10 donation. Thank you for the content. Have a 2021 STI that I enjoyed, but I'm undecided between trading it for a manual Super or Camaro SSLE for track work. Which do you suggest? Camaro.
He's coming from a Subaru, though.
Camaro.
The Camaro's a better car, but he's probably going to like the Subaru better.
I don't know. But the Subaru is more analog car, and the Camaro is more analog. You feel more. The Supra, though, like an STI, you can tune to your heart's content.
That's a really hard one. You literally have to drive them both. You have to drive them both to know.
You'll love the V8 sound and the gearbox. What you won't love is the fact that it's harder to tune. You can't make 10,000 horsepower like you can in the Supra. And the styling of the Camaro is kind of fucked. Yeah, as you closing the window.
That's all the birds, man. They're going nuts out there.
Hopefully, point of view garage, that helps you. You're never going to be able to tell in a test drive either. But the basic inputs and whether or not you like the manual one car versus the other or the character of the engines, you'll be able to figure out in a test drive. Justified for $5. Elantra NDCT, wow, or a Lexus ES350. I live in Los Angeles. Is it worth getting a sporty car, or should I just get the reliable boat and sit in traffic?
By the way, thanks for being a Patreon. And I know that the SS question's a hard one, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. These are like completely different cars. I mean, if you're sitting in traffic
and you never drive the canyons
and you never go out and have fun, you're going to feel a lot more calm in an ES350. You're going to feel constantly on edge in that Elantra N, like you're gonna be hating life in it. It's also going to ride much rougher Like, I don't care, the Elantra N doesn't ride bad, but it's not a smooth car. You're going to regret it in traffic. If that's all you do, just get an ES 350 and find some other fun weekend car.
Chris Walks Fast for $2. Thoughts on the Whistling Diesels automotive channel? I know little about that guy, and I've never watched his stuff, so I have no opinion.
Yeah, I've never seen one of the videos before. I know that's bad, but I apologize
To him personally.
maybe it's. I'm sorry, I don't know shit about it. Have you seen that dude's baloney channel? He just puts baloney in his mouth.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's just my sub channel. No,
Damn it, Mark.
I got to edge you for once.
TT, it doesn't really. I could picture there's someone being a baloney channel.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know it's not so far fetched anymore.
My favorite new weird YouTube channel that I enjoy. It's funny because I don't really watch car content. Caravan of Garbage. They're two Australian guys that sort of do a podcast and they talk about old films. It's actually pretty fucking amazing.
You'll have to send it to me.
Yeah, I think you would genuinely appreciate it. It's like our perspective on films.
Is it like modern stuff or old stuff?
It's old, new, all the above.
Oh, it does everything?
Yeah, they talked about Blade, the original Blade film. They revisited. They talked about production and some garbage trivia associated with it. Blade still has my favorite stupid quote. It's, what is it? Some motherfuckers are always still trying to ice skate uphill.
Yeah, just some nonsensical stuff.
God, that movie's incredible.
Dude, don't get me started with movies right now because you know what I'm going to bring up. Wild Side.
Oh my God. All right. TT for $10. Thank you for the $10 donation. I ordered a Ranger Raptor. Have you guys heard anything about press vehicles when you might review one? How much owning a Raptor will boost my T levels? Well, we saw one in person while we were at the Ford place. And Mark's like, I'd rather drive a Prius. No, I don't know. I mean, you don't really like trucks.
Honestly, I don't know what it is, man. Like, I can't. It's just another truck.
If it's half as good as the Bronco Raptor, you will absolutely love it. I don't know when the press drive is going to happen. We pitched them on a documentary film on that car. I doubt they're going to go.
It's a Bronco with a truck bed, right? I mean, isn't that not what it is?
Bronco Raptor.
Okay, it's a Bronco Raptor with a bed.
Bronco Raptor's great. You'll probably love it.
Yeah, if you like the Bronco Raptor, I mean, it's going to be the same crap, right?
Yeah.
Not crap, you know what I mean. It's going to be the same dynamics. I mean, it's not going to be that much different. Maybe with the back end kind of unloaded, it might be more fun to drive. Like, I don't know, but how much different can it be?
We'll probably be at the press launch. Probably.
Well, Jack will be at the press launch.
Mark will be asleep.
I'll be on the beach. When will different size Geese t-shirts be available? Not for a while. I need over $10,000 to order them, and that's not happening anytime soon.
Love your content from MN, from Minnesota. Your CX-5 video got me in a crossover. What are your thoughts on the new 8-speed transmission?
Jack, tell them.
Even according to the engineers, they wish they had more money to develop it. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just there. And there is some weird smoothness issues with initial takeoff, both in the PHAV and in the regular inline 6. I like the PHAV better than the base inline 6. Do I think the Turbo S is amazing? I still probably would take the PHAV. I think in a vehicle like that, I know they wanted to have you're going to see it on a review. There's a lot great with that SUV. There's some things I would definitely have done differently, but I get why Mazda did what they did, and I appreciate that they developed their 8-speed in-house. Is it a ZF 8-speed? Absolutely not. Edgar, thank you for the 10 RON.
By the way, thanks, Jaden.
Daniel Dowd, thoughts on tracking a car with traction control on versus off? I want to learn to correct slides at high speed, but the risks seem so high on track compared to autocross. Don't learn to correct high-speed slides on track. Do it on an autocross. I love drifting cars around, and the way I got good at it is through autocrossing cars. Like constantly upsetting cars and correcting them on an autocross taught me car control. At least, in a non-going to a driving school setup. And then obviously the bond around things that are cemented the ability to slide cars around. And you drive with traction control off, but you drive it not so you can drift the car around.
I drive it so the car doesn't interfere. So the problem with modern cars is the traction and stability control system is always using the brakes. Always using the brakes. So, like, what a natural behavior of the car would be with everything off, where the car might rotate or understeer more, if you don't have it off, the car is just always electronically controlling it. So it's not the natural state of what it is. So I turn it off so I can feel what the car's doing and having its natural rotation. You're using the mechanical grip, all that stuff, you know what's going on. If you're trying to drive hard with stability control on, it will destroy your brakes 100%.
Particularly if you drive fast.
And if you're driving it fast and trying to slide the car, it will destroy the brakes and tires within, it will, I mean, literally, it's just turn it off. But to Jack's point, don't try to slide the car around until you know how to do this quickly. Recover the car. Learn how to recover the car from a slide before you try sliding it. Because what you need to understand is, like Jack does this all the time, you need to understand how to stop a slide from getting out of hand. So when you reach that point of no return, you need to know how to settle the car down and stop it so you don't wind up continuing that slide into a fixed object. So you need to be quick
Or looping the car.
Or looping the car, especially if there's other cars on it. So learn how to do the slow speed stuff first, learn how to correct a car and how to stop a car, and then learn how to spin it or like drift it.
Yeah, and I would, like, outside of what we do on camera, there's no one else on track. I would never drift a car on a track day with other cars on track. It just seems a good way to total it.
Well, yeah, and if you lose it, that's the problem. Like, if you have somebody behind you that doesn't understand what you're doing or doesn't kind of like comprehend like placement of a car, and you go and loop it in front of somebody and they just T-bone you, I mean, it's just
Yeah, you've ruined your day and somebody else's.
Yeah, anyway, learn how to do it at slow speeds first, man, and then always leave the stuff off unless you're a horrible driver. If you're trying to drive with the stability control system on, it's just, you're not going to learn anything. You're going to learn nothing.
Yeah. At least with the mod. Like, if you have a really advanced stability control setup, like some crazy MDM mode or the PTM and that, it will save your ass and you will be fast. It depends. I think from an old car perspective, like your Type R, not old car, but like an older, less sophisticated system, turn everything off. If it's a really competent system, like when the PTM pulls spark and timing and uses the diff, it doesn't use the brakes to save your ass. If you're not confident the car is terrifying to drive, then sure, leave some of it on. I don't blame you for it, but I wouldn't leave anything totally on.
This is a complicated topic. It's a complicated topic. You can't learn how to drive a car with all the systems interfering because you don't know what the car's doing, and you don't know what it's doing for you, and you don't know like where the limits of a car is if it's constantly braking for you. So I mean, again, you have to do some type of driving school in a controlled environment where you're not putting your car, yourself, or somebody else at risk. And a lot of that is starting at slower speed maneuvers, learning how to stop slides and all the safety stuff before you go high speed and try to spin a car. And that's where I'll leave it. But I guess we could argue that for a while.
Tim, thank you for your $30 collectively between both your donations. Yes, Jack and Joe. It's the guy who swings into your private DMs on Instagram, spammed you, but you guys spammed you with people sticking up the middle finger. Please accept my $30 collectively as compensation for your pain. By the way, guys, you rock. Well, thank you, Tim Brown. I appreciate it, and continue to spam us on Instagram. It always gives me a slight chuckle. Edgar, thank you for the $10. What's the ideal poor man's four-door fun daily?
Thank you, Wild Frames. Again, thank you, Tim Brown. Thank you for doing that.
Also,
I really appreciate it.
We're going to try to get through all the last questions that we have. Please stop donating, Chen. Please tell everybody to stop donating. We'd like to go home and see our families at some point. And hopefully you guys have apprecited or enjoyed.
I don't want to see my family. I want to edit. I need to edit. Otherwise, you're not going to have a video on Monday of artwork.
All right, let's start going through these faster, Mark. Let's do it. Oh, fuck. What's the best four-door fun daily for someone who doesn't have a lot of money? Civic Si?
Yeah, probably.
Like an older Civic Si?
Yeah, I would say so. That's pretty, I don't know how much they are, but yeah, that would be a good
like
one.
Like a K20 equipped one. That's a great, inexpensive four-door car. Fiesta ST, Focus ST.
Yeah, Fiesta ST. I don't like the Fiesta ST would be far more fun.
Nacho Libre for $10. What shot is the hardest to capture / edit? Well, interviews, probably.
No, I don't think so.
To edit?
To edit, I mean, well, depends on what the interviews are. Is it some canned trash? The hardest one is going to be the NSX because it's in a different language. But I would prefer to sit and interview somebody than standing out on track, hanging out of the back of a car, trying to get like all
What's
these.
the hardest to shoot?
The track stuff.
Yeah, that's really fun.
It's really hard. It's like it's a lot. It's just insane amounts of work, and it's exhausting.
it's rough. Dangling on the back of a car to get some of these shots.
I think the most frustrating part about these track things is you would think, oh, this is going to be so much fun because we have cars on track. Like, that was a perfect example. We were rushing to get the Integra video done. I'm like, I'm going to go spin some laps in the Type R to set times and get data. And I spent like 6 minutes stressed out trying to do it, and then I got 1 lap in the Integra. Just one lap, and that was all it was. And anytime we do these big track comparisons, you don't even get to drive. The only thing you're doing is shooting these cars. You're just trying to get every single shot. It's just a time crunch. So I would say that the track stuff, and then trying to edit the story stuff. The Z06 video that you wanted to do with the factory was really, really hard. The other comparison to the GT3 was really, really hard. It probably took 2 to 3 weeks to do that video, just the editing.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. Speaking of edits, when you open the hood and speak about engine suspension parts, can you please somehow highlight the parts you were actually talking about? Some of us don't know what control arms are, et cetera, et cetera. We will do our best in the future.
Yeah, the straight answer is why I don't do it, and it's not that I know that I shouldn't do it, is because I never have enough time to go through, and that's my fault. I will admit that. It's corner cutting because I've gotten lazy with it, and I don't want to take any more time to do it, but if it's a technical video, I will do my best to do it. I've been working in After Effects and other stuff more recently to do graphical things that I need to do, so you will see more of it.
The last, Supa Bash for $10. Can you share about the Integra Type S better than your Type R, better daily? The embargo drops Monday. Honda will skin us alive if we.
Yeah, I can't talk about the driving part of it.
You'll find everything else
honestly,
you need to know on Monday.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The last for $5. Love the technical side content. Love to listen to your reviews while at work. Genuinely helps me pass the time. I work 15-hour shifts Monday through Friday.
Man, thank you. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm glad we bring you at least a little bit of joy.
Hopefully you get 1 week on, 1 week off or something.
Speed Reader 9. Are you guys going to the Ren Sport reunion at Laguna in September? Probably not. We typically don't travel for car shows, just being honest. Thank you for the $10 Speed Reader. It's not that we don't want to go, we just don't have time.
If this was in a different life right now, or like out of this, I'd probably be more involved in that when I can actually enjoy some of it versus this grind that we're in.
Blargmon 332. Is the Fiesta ST worth the current market? I would still have my 2016 Mazda 3 2-liter 6-speed automatic as my daily. Yeah, if they're not super expensive, the Fiesta ST is a lot of fun, man. The same guy who talked about the 350R with us, he dailies a Fiesta ST because he loves it that much.
Yeah, that it is. Those cars are really fun. They're like, there's not much else like them. It's like the modern equivalent of like a really hyper-aggressive CRX where you have spring rates of like 3,000 pounds. It's just such an edgy, fun car to drive.
Your content, iframes for $10. Your content is inspiring in so many ways. I'd love to see a manual F-Type V6S rear-wheel drive review, also a manual 987S, if Jack can somehow drag Mark into another Porsche. The likelihood of getting a V6 F-Type manual is like non-existent. I'd love to do a video on one. We're probably never going to do it. The 987S, the problem is the GT4 is so similar. It's
987 or 981?
981S. Maybe it's just the GT4 is so similar, and we've done so many Porsche videos. It's almost derivative at this point.
I think eventually we're going to go back to trying to find some older cars to do stuff, because the new car stuff is just so difficult to do some of these projects. I think we're going to go back to it. Just keep reminding us if you could.
Tim Brown for $2. Boss 302. How about a Cobra R? I love that car. Chin Face, who's our moderator, loves that car. If I could do a video on a Cobra R and we can make it as ridiculous as our original.
Cobra R was the independent rear, right?
I'm pretty sure it's independent rear and had a giant wing on the back. It was the same body as the Terminator. Yeah. Alphaback Brackley, thank you again. What viewer question or comment really most impacted your approach and career? Man, that's a hard one.
What viewer comment? What viewer question?
I got to give that one thought. I think we both do.
Like, I don't understand the question.
What question did someone ask you that made you change your approach or impacted your career?
There's not one. That's really hard though. Yeah, I would want to say, to Jack's point, I'd have to think about that more, because I don't just want to give you a half-ass answer. I think a lot of it has to do with the people that we talk to. Like viewers, obviously, in these questions that we get. And adversity, I think I would say that more as a general statement, is like if I screw something up and somebody comes back and says, you did this wrong, or you should have done this, or even positive feedback, I look at that as a sum or a whole of like, how can I do things differently? I think a lot of what I get feedback from is people's experiences, where I can learn from people's experiences of what works and hasn't worked and what they're going through, because that's definitely more helpful for big picture. So I get because you get in your own head. I think all of us get in our own head of like our daily grind, but if you can hear other people's experiences and have them share like what they're going through, it makes things much easier to think like, oh, okay, this person's going through that, or how are they dealing with it? And you learn these tidbits of how they've dealt with situations that you maybe have never thought of. So I think it's just the overall interaction with people that really helps, and good and bad comments as well.
Something people have been asking us for is an NPC car shootout, Mark.
I know, I've wanted to do that forever.
The dream, what's the dream lineup for an NPC shootout? Is it a Trax and an EcoSport? Equinox?
Yeah, like Equinox, EcoSport, Trax. There's just got to be some other piles in there.
We never did an, Luke, thank you for the $5. The reason we never did an all-track sport wagon review is because we never had one as a press car. It's just simply that. I mean, I think it's a great car. A friend of mine personally actually owns one, which he proceeded to blow up. Kevin, if you're watching, you're an idiot. What is the next question we have? Holy shit, we have a lot of questions left. Oh, God. Oh, God.
I thought you liked questions.
I do. I need to find where we're at in the questions.
Herbert Martinez for $5 currently own a 2018 Focus RS, considering a trade. Anything in the current class and market worth the swap? For example, Golf R or Type R. The only thing close to the Focus RS, in my opinion, is the GR Corolla.
But the Type R is better, and the Elantra is also great.
Yeah, just put it in that list of order. I would drive I'd drive a GR Corolla first, and then the Type R. The Golf R is way too soft.
Gladio 2 for $5. If the WRX is a rally car meant to go off-road, why is it reportedly so stiff? Shouldn't it be soft to make off-roading smoother? The street car is not a rally car.
Hashtag marketing. That's it.
It's 0% a rally car.
I mean, you could take it off-road, and you'll end up on a tow truck.
When you crack
and
the
then
oil
the tow
pan.
truck will do a better job going off-road to recover you.
Next question, Mark.
Bullion Boys, Andre ISK 750. Keep up the great work, Bullion Boys. Thank you. Oh, sorry, ISK. I never thought it was part of his name.
Thank you for the
sorry, I was reading.
750 ISK, Andre.
Thank you.
Michael Turning, do you and Jack have Jack and Mark have kids? We have kids together. We've adopted a small family.
No, we adopted Jack's Corvette. We have Corvettes. We're just to be straight about this stuff, I don't like to get into the personal life thing. It's no offense, honestly, just in a public forum. Like, I'll talk to somebody one-on-one about stuff, but I don't like talking about our personal life.
Except
like
for your child diversity program.
Yeah,
you
well,
have one
that's
kid
different.
in every state.
Well, yeah, and I'm having some trouble with that recently.
Is that why you're bankrupt?
Yeah, pretty much. The payments are getting out of hand. I thought it was a good idea at first. I mean, Elon Musk is trying it, but I definitely don't have Elon Musk money.
Al Pacino and Robert Redford.
Robert Downey Jr. No, yeah, De Niro and
Al Pacino both have inspired you to have kids in your late 80s.
Yeah, no thank you. The last thing I want to do is that.
Docs de la Manca, thank you for the $5. Why are the LX 570s and LCs still so expensive?
Oh, the used ones? I don't know, because it's Lexus.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, it's just...
There aren't a lot of them, and people love them.
The LC is a good question, because we were looking at the numbers of production, and the numbers, they were supposed to sell 450 a month. That was their target when they made the LC, and there were months where it did it, but overall, they're lucky if they sell like 100 a month. So the inventory is really low, and the people that have them are usually holding on to them, or you have to wait for leases to come up. Yeah, it just sucks. I agree. They're way too expensive.
Tony Triple C, thank you for the $50.
Yes, Tony Triple C, thanks for the $49.99. This guy couldn't even afford to give me the extra
Yeah, I
penny.
know, he's an asshole. No, Tony, thank you very
No,
much.
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You guys set the standard, best car reviewers, period. Thank you. Given the e-fuel efforts, say it's perfected tomorrow, do you think any ICE manufacturer will continue once EV becomes the norm? Exotic and or more attainable brands?
Yes, I think as soon as there's some alternate fuel that works, you're going to go right back to having ridiculous internal combustion cars because these companies already have insane development history and experience with doing so. So to throw all that away after 100 years or whatever it is, they're going to want to do it immediately. They'll be like, yeah, who's going to be the first person to make another 1,000 horsepower internal combustion?
They'll be high dollar cars.
Yeah, they will. But it'll trickle its way down to normal cars again. I mean, I hope it happens.
Thoughts on reliability? Ethan, thank you for the $10. Thanks. Thoughts on reliability between the Civic Si versus the Type R, like 2 liter versus 1.5. More displacement, less PSI for the win. Is the 2 liter more reliable than the 1.5?
Yes, I think. The initial 1.5s with the dilution issue, but the 1.5s are more tunable. You can make a lot of power out of them, but there's still like the issue with it is you have cooling problems then, right? I mean, it wasn't designed to be a performance application. It was designed to be an eco setup. So you have to do all this side work to make it more reliable, whereas the 2 liter was already built for cooling, and at least to a certain extent. So reliability there, I'd take the 2 liter.
Mobster for $2. I want to buy a V12 Aston Martin. Which do you like? I like all of them, as long as they have a manual. DBS and V12 Vantage are really cool.
Yeah, I mean that's where you spend the money on Aston, is that type of thing.
Kevin Patrick Goulet. Cool HPA Sirocco in the news this week. Question, could you see a 18 Passat GT V6 with similar performance mods as an HPA Scirocco? Sorry, not Sirocco, Scirocco. A sleeper car, cool, and not to be a thief magnet here in LA. You guys rock. Thanks. Oh, man, the Passat GT V6. The problem is I've never driven one. I think the Scirocco is really cool, but it's really just it's a Golf.
It would be a cool sleeper car.
The Passat GT V6.
Yeah. I think the Passat has a really sleeper car aspect to it. It's like as sleeper as you can get. Nobody would give it a second look, and it would be a fun car. I mean, it's still based on all the same cars that are good from VW if you do the right stuff to it. I just don't know, man. That's a tricky call if you want to spend the money on doing all that, but there is something to be said about sleeper cars. Mm-hmm. There for sure.
That's why people like things like the Taurus Show.
I could see it definitely.
Luke Kramer for $10. Hey guys, if both are $60,000, would I get a manual Supra or a manual V8 R8 with higher mileage coming from a 10th gen Civic Si? Manual Lamborghini Gallardo is my dream car, and the Supra scares me with rear-wheel drive. Man, there's a way. Can you afford to fix your manual V8 R8 when it goes bad? That becomes your question.
You can't. It's going to cost you $60,000. Yeah, the thing is, when you come from front-wheel drive, to rear-wheel drive, you essentially, if you're driving like a monkey,
it's not going to go well.
It's going to be hard. You're gonna have to really switch your mentality, and you got to do driving stuff. You got to do autocross or driving schools with it to learn how to control the rear wheel drive part. But once you do, it's a really good skill set to know how to wheel a front wheel drive car because there's some skill to it. And when you switch over, you'll be very, very happy that you did. Let's just put it that way.
The manual V8 R8, to be clear, is cooler than the Supra. But if you can only afford $60,000, it means you probably can't afford to fix it.
Exactly.
Killer Oz. Did you actually?
Oh, crap.
Fuck.
Nah, man, I'm sorry.
Let me find it.
That's my fault.
You've done it again, Mark. Oh, I found it. Killer Oz. I sold my M2C and bought a GR86 because of you guys. Thanks. That being said, should I drop my oil pan for RTV and switch it to 5W30 oil before I track it? Probably yes. Though the biggest problem, Killer Oz, with the oil pan in that car is not even just the RTV, it's that it can't maintain oil pressure in big sweepers. So, I mean, you could roll the dice if the car is otherwise unmodified. Some dealers will warranty it if it pops, some don't. They should all warranty it. But at the minimum, yeah, drop the RTV and swap the 5W50.
I will say you one other thing. If you're not going to drop the pan and do the RTV, do not switch to 530. Stay to 020 because you're gonna have a thicker oil that can't flow through the pickup if it's blocked or there's RTV. So don't switch the oil until you get all that silicone out. And maybe just as a safety precaution, run 020 after you do the RTV. Run it for a couple thousand miles and then dump the oil again before you switch to a different oil weight, just as a safety measure.
Mobs and if you are going to keep the car, get an oil cooler and get a baffled oil pan. And
This is only if you're tracking, right?
Yeah.
You talk about tracking, right?
if you're doing street stuff, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Mobster for $2. Favorite brand of hemorrhoid ointment? I got a big one.
What? What's your favorite hemorrhoid cream?
Mark, I'm not quite at your illustrious age yet, so I got a couple more years to worry.
Pro tip: Walmart generic. I mean, you're gonna save $2 a tube, and you're gonna be blowing through that stuff.
Noah Miller for
Pick
$20.
yourself up some rubber bands and just get rid of them.
God, dude. Thanks so much for your content. Thinking about an M2 comp for a fun weekend car, mainly comparing to an E46 M3 and an E86 Z4M Coupe. Cheaper but no warranty. Thoughts and considerations. The Z4M Coupe is a badass car. I would take that over an M2 comp any day of the week. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I had to think about it because I don't know. I've never liked the M2. I know everybody loves the M2s, but I feel like, yeah, to your point, the Z4M is a far more unique car experience.
And the engine's incredible.
Yes.
Oh man, I read this question earlier, and it's a CT5E Blackwing. My pants are getting tight, Mark. Josh Burnington, thank you for the $10. Or Bennington, I apologize. Does the CT5E Blackwing really have the capability to replace two or more specialized experiences? For example, a hot hatch for every day and dedicated race car like an Exige for track work. No, it does not. It does not have the ability to replace an Exige. It does have the ability to replace a hot hatch and like a luxury car. It's not a track car. It is a big boat. But if you have the money to drive one every single day and you can drive it like a monkey, there is no better car than the CT5E Blackwing.
I would not agree with you, but
You're wrong.
V8
manual, supercharged.
It's another one of these huge cars that relies on every single electronic piece to keep it going fast on the track.
Yeah, you just turn everything off. And you go sideways.
No, I'm just saying it's so fast on a track. It is bewildering, but it's using all the electronics to make it go fast. But it does not feel good to do it. It's funny. You're going to set a fast lap time, but you're going to look at your tires and your brakes and you're like, why did those go away so quick?
I know why they went away.
Why do I have to spend $5,000 to do that after like 3 times at the track?
Mark, I went around turn 1 in the CT5E Blackwing with everything off, and I could not see behind me because there was so much smoke. And I don't care about anything else you're saying other than the fact that that car will do that. While driving it flat out, I literally felt like I was in a yacht going flat out down the track. It was an incredible experience. My GM microchip is as a throbbing, but I fucking love that car so much. So much.
This guy's nuts. It's not that good. It's good, but it's not that
It's
good.
incredible.
It's
not Exige
nothing's
good.
going to replace an Exige on the track. I'm sorry. Even though it's slow, nothing's going to feel like that.
No, and Dr. Grover, I did not have to pay for the brakes and the tires after that. That's why I think it's amazing. The reason,
yeah, of course. If you had to pay for it, he wouldn't be doing that.
Oh, shit. No. Fuck. No, streamy. Oh, there we go. Pavu. Let's see if we can get this done in 10 minutes, Mark. We only have a couple more questions. I grew up around thank you for the $20. I grew up with a family of Toyotas and Lexus, and I just bought a loaded IS350 over an A4 TLX, which I know you guys think are technically superior. What are your thoughts on spending money on this kind of emotional connection to a brand or style? I'll let you lead this one, Mark.
I think I really like the IS350. I don't have a problem with that. I would rather have it over, well, the TLX is a tough one. just because I think the all-wheel drive system is really good. But there's something about, again, it's about this Toyota. It's the Toyota Lexus mentality. You're a different person if you like these cars. You're valuing different things about it. That's why I like the IS350. I think it's a unique car. It's not trying to be the other cars.
What about the emotional part of like?
I think there's a lot of emotion to that car. It's not the best engine. It's not the gearbox, but there's something unique about it. There's something uniquely Japanese in Toyota about it. And that's an intangible about buying cars. You know, people don't just buy it because like, you know, it goes around a corner fast or it's quick in a straight line or whatever. That's why I like it. It's not really, you're feeling something else that's not measurable. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm gonna say.
George Ivan, thank you for the $20. The best thing about your channel is not Mark's granddad's story, but honesty and transparency you guys bring to auto reviews. Thank you for everything you do. Much love from Texas. George, thank you very much for the $20.
Yeah.
And the kind words, man.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, if you're going back and watching the beginning when I talked about my grandfather, you're going to have to obviously not take my words seriously because I think I mixed up what I said about the best thing that happened to us was a stroke. That's not what I meant. It was the story behind it.
No, you just really hated your grandpa.
Yeah, no. Anyway, that's what happens when you do this stuff live. But anyway, nobody cares. It's still funny.
Extinction 575, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you for the $100, by the way. That is a big boy donation. You are very kind for doing that. We can never repay you, but
pay you when we're extinct. We're going to be extinct soon. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
You're the reason I bought a second car, DC5 Integra, and became a car person in general. Really hope you guys keep up the amazing work. We are definitely trying extinction, so thank you very much for the $100 donation.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be curious to see what you think of the upcoming Integra and Honda videos and stuff. I don't know if you're going to like the new ones, but I'm glad that you found the bug and hopefully you don't go broke with your car hobby.
Nacho Libre for $10. So a software engineer and a mechanical engineer. Are you looking for an EE? Not yet. If I somehow land $10 million worth of sponsorships, I'll have you electrically engineer all over cameras. But no, honestly, Nacho, thank you for the $10.
Yeah, if I had extra money, I would have so much more help. Definitely.
Doug for $2. You own an ATV or motorcycle anymore? I still own a motorcycle. Mark doesn't own either.
Yeah, I don't own any. I'm trying to pare back my
stuff. Except you own how many fucking snowmobiles and skidoos do you own?
I'm not even gonna
and jet skis.
I'm not getting into that. I mean, I told Jack about how I was gonna probably kick the bucket, but I don't want to get into that story. Because it actually kind of gets personal, so I don't want to go there.
His dream in life is to ride a jet ski around McHenry, to go to Blarney's, and then get it stuck on a sand barge and die of a brain aneurysm.
Just fall asleep or just pass out and fall off my jet ski so they can recover my body. My last thing is my lime green vest going to a wet t-shirt contest at Blarney's.
Brazen Rain, shut up and take my money. Well, Brazen, thank you for the $2. Marshall D for $5. What do you guys think about mid-aughts to mid-2010 Maseratis, like the Quattroporte and the Gran Turismo with the ZF? I've heard they're sneaky good picks. All right, I will tell you my Maserati story, Mark.
Shut up and take my money. Thanks for the $2, brah.
You have a good Maserati story?
What's the... I keep going back to these old ones, man.
It's our very last question.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool. Marshall D.
2010 Maseratis, like the Quattroporte and the Gran Turismo, the Cooper, the sedan with the ZF. I've heard they're good picks. Would you ever own a 20-aughts Maserati?
I don't know. Like, it's weird. Like, some of these cars... If I was in a different place in my life, I probably would just to do it. Like some of these, not those specifically. The Quattroporte and I don't know, man. What do you think? Would you drive those? If you just had like throwaway money for some of this stuff, would you ever buy it?
I have no emotional connection whatsoever to the Maserati Quattroporte. That's the problem. I don't know, man. I think the problem with those cars is there's so much money to run. While they sound great, they're not a sports car experience.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one. I see them once in a while, and I'm like, there's something about them, but not enough for me to go in on something like that.
Apparently, we missed someone's question.
How dare ye? I probably deleted it on accident.
It's a question from Frames, Wild Frames, back a while ago. If I didn't answer your question, or if we didn't answer your questions, find us on Instagram or via our email link to ask them away. So if we didn't answer something, I apologize, and I will personally kill Chinface for missing his question. But with that, I also wanted to thank all of you guys for sticking around for as long as you have. This was an over 2.5 hour process. And is there anything else you want to talk about, Mark, before we wrap this up so you can get back to editing the world's longest Integra Type S?
Yeah, I gotta finish, unfortunately. The only reason I'm not keeping this going longer is I have to finish editing tonight, and I'm gonna be up super late. There's one more question that came in from Michael. Any thoughts on the Type R as your ownership matures? I like the car more now than when I got it, which is a good sign. I hope that I'm able to keep it. I've really enjoyed driving it, and I want to keep it nice. It's the same thing in the review. If you watch the last review, I'm gonna have another video about like this car itself. So I don't want to bore you with a lot of it, but yeah, I do like it a lot. I've liked it as a regular car. Every time I get in it, I really enjoy the drive. It's comfortable. It does everything that a normal car does, and it's somewhat fun to drive. And a lot of it has to do with the manual trans. I'll be honest, like getting back in a car with a good manual transmission again is definitely a big deal. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Okay. Well, with that, I
Any closing thoughts? Anything to cover as we're going into the next couple weeks? What do we got coming out?
So ITS is Monday, Integra Type S is Monday. Friday is probably MDX Type S, our wrap-up video on that. Following week will be Mazda 3 wrap-up. So one of the earlier questions was Mazda 3, and then...
So MDX Type S final, Integra Type S video, launch video, CX-90.
Oh yeah, CX-90, Mazda 3.
Mazda 3, Subaru.
Crosstrack. We have a Crosstrack. We're shooting a Lamborghini at the end of the month. We finish out our Mustang project next month. Is there anything else
The X7, I have to finish an X7 video. Like ownership experience with it. But that's about it. And then I have to edit the NSX video, which is going to take me over a month.
Yeah. So with that, guys, I'm going to let Mark get back to editing the Integra Type S. I will pound my chest for you, Yum Barbecue, the next time I have a V8 powered vehicle to pound my chest for you in. But with that, I think we should end this broadcast.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. I know this is a big time commitment, and hopefully it was somewhat entertaining. You got to learn something from it, and we're going to try to do another one of these next month where I have more time once we're done with these projects. We'll be able to cover more content and obviously getting to more like questions and stories and stuff of like
when we have a little more time. I think when we originally scheduled this, we thought we'd have more than 2 hours to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
And our plan is to do this more often, probably somewhere later. We'll probably poll you guys to figure out what day makes the most sense to do live streams so we can hit up as many people as possible. Sometimes we do it when we get 5,000 or 6,000 people watching, or sometimes we get 1,000. So I want to make sure we can get as many people together to answer your questions at once, if that makes sense.
I actually really enjoy doing this. I know it just takes forever, and I'm sure most people are bored, but this is like the best. This is the closest I get from interacting to people on here. Honestly, because when are we ever going to get to do anything? The meets, we just don't have time to go to meets and stuff, so it kind of sucks. But anyway, yeah.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks again. See you later. I ended the stream on this. All right.